Welcome to the world of Barbie, where everything is pink and sparkly and everyone is living their best doll lives. Look, there's Barbie now, greeting the day with a huge smile, like nothing could ever go wrong. But then something does go wrong, doesn't it? Okay, huge spoiler alert. I'm about to analyze a pivotal scene from the movie Barbie. And if you haven't seen the movie yet, watch that before you watch this video analysis. So, assuming you have seen the movie, you know that Barbie becomes unhappy with her life in Barbie Land. And she does something drastic at the end of the movie. She leaves her doll life behind and becomes human. Whoa, I totally didn't see that one coming. And in this video, I'll analyze the scene called Barbie Becomes Human because I really like this scene, and it showcases some very interesting things about American English pronunciation that I think you'll really enjoy and benefit learning about. Also, did you know that the actress who plays Barbie, Margot Robbie, isn't American? She's Australian, and her natural accent is an Australian English accent. She's got a pretty convincing American accent, though, and up until this scene, I was pretty much buying her entire American vibe. But in this scene, there was one word that gave it away that she is not American. As soon as I heard this word, I immediately thought, she's not American. What was that word? The one word that gave it away that she was faking this American accent? Well, I'll share that with you later in the video. So stick around. Let's learn English with Barbie. Here's the full scene that I'll analyze in this video. I'm going to play the entire thing for you. Then I'll play each sentence and provide you with an analysis of the intonation, linking, reductions, and interesting pronunciations that I hear. And then I'll play the entire analysis for you with the notes on the screen so you can practice.
I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do now. I've always been stereotypical Barbie, and I don't think I'm really good at anything else.
You saved Barbie Land from patriarchy.
That was very much a group effort.
And you helped that mother and daughter connect.
They really helped each other.
Maybe you're self-effacing, Barbie?
Maybe I'm not Barbie anymore.
You understand that humans only have one ending. Ideas live forever. Humans not so much. You know that, right?
I do.
Being a human can be pretty uncomfortable.
I know.
Humans make things up like patriarchy and Barbie just to deal with how uncomfortable it is.
I understand that.
And then you die.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to be a part of the people that make meaning, not the thing that's made. I want to do the imagining. I don't want to be the idea. Does that make sense?
I always knew that Barbie would surprise me, but I never expected this.
Do you give me permission to become human?
You don't need my permission.
But you're the creator. Don't you control me?
I can't control you any more than I could control my own daughter. I named you after her, Barbara, and I always hoped for you like I hoped for her. We mothers stand still so our daughters can look back to see how far they've come.
So being human's not something I need to ask for or even want? I can just it's something that I just discover I am.
I can't in good conscience let you take this leap without you knowing what it means. Take my hands. Now, close your eyes. Now, feel.
Here's sentence number 1.
I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do now. I've always been stereotypical Barbie, and I don't think I'm really good at anything else.
Here is sentence number 1, and it's spoken by Barbie. And the first thing we'll discuss is the intonation that she uses when she says this sentence. So the intonation is noted by the light blue line that you see above the script. And you'll notice that it's kind of just relative pitch changes to each other. So there's periods of time where she kind of pops up on certain words with her pitch. You know, that's what intonation is. It's that upwards and downwards, the changes in the pitch of your voice, the melody of your speech. Is your voice going up or is your voice going down? Now, I will say that in lots of these scenes, the Barbie character kind of talks. She kind of talks like this. And later on in the scene, she's crying. So her voice gets a little choked up. So her intonation is, a little bit flat or just kind of in this kind of glottal fry area for a while. But she does have some changes here. So let me just briefly tell you what I heard and follow along with the words, and you'll see that blue line kind of moving up and down. That means that's where her voice went up. And then when you see the line going down, that means the pitch of her voice went down. So in this first part, she says, I'm not really sure what I'm... And I heard the word really as the one that kind of stood out the most in terms of intonation. And then she pops back down on supposed to do now. So she pops up on do and then down on now, and she connects that to the next thought group. And she starts with I've, and that's where she pauses. And then she pops up an intonation again on always been stereotypical Barbie. And so she does this interesting thing here where she's got different thought groups. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do now, period. That's the end of a thought group, but she just keeps going. She chooses to connect those thought groups together, and you can hear that in her intonation. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do now. I've always been stereotypical Barbie, and so she's blowing right through those natural boundaries of thought groups and connecting them in a unique way. So that's just something to be aware of. That's her choice as the actress, what she wanted to do. So if you wanted to try to imitate this style, that's exactly what you should do as well. So here we have, I've always been stereotypical Barbie, and kind of lead upward intonation there. I don't think I'm really good at anything else. So anything else. She kind of rests her intonation kind of low and then kind of else, kind of dips down at the very end. All right, so I'll play this for you again a couple of times, and now listen for these intonation patterns.
I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do now. I've always been stereotypical Barbie, and I don't think I'm really good at anything else. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do now. I've always been stereotypical Barbie, and I don't think I'm really good at anything else. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do now. I've always been stereotypical Barbie, and I don't think I'm really good at anything else.
All right. Now let's talk about the linking. And I've noted linking in two different colors here. So the first color is green, a bright green color. So I've tried to point out where I've heard special linking with a final T consonant or a final D consonant, because lots of times the T sound will change in American English pronunciation. And I'll describe the rules here as I note them in the linking, and you'll hear me say these rules over and over again. So you'll have some linking there that's noted in green, and also linking that's noted in bright pink or hot pink. So because there's another thing that's happening in pronunciation that's a different rule, but it involves linking words together as well. So let's take a look at this first word, this first phrase, not really. And you'll see there's a bright green line through that final T in not, and then a vertical line right after that. And I have this symbol. It's looks like a question mark, but this is the IPA symbol for a glottal stop. So the glottal stop is a T sound that's made with the throat. It's made with the vocal cords only, typically. So your vocal cords will close, and it's still a T. So I want to say that right off the bat. This is still a T sound, but it's a different way to pronounce the T. So the T shifts to the throat. It's not made with the tongue. And typically that happens when you're linking a word or a syllable that ends with a final T, and you're linking it to a word or syllable that begins with a consonant. And here you'll see the word not is linking to a consonant, the R in really. So when she links this phrase together, and this is very typical of native speakers of American English, that T will transition to the throat, and it will become a glottal stop T or a stop T. They mean the same thing, and it's represented by this question mark symbol. That's the IPA symbol for a glottal stop. So it sounds like this. If you're making a glottal stop, your vocal cords will close. You can feel something is kind of catching in the throat or stopping in the throat. That's your vocal cords closing. So if you're making a glottal stop correctly, you can't breathe or make any sound while you're doing it because the vocal cords are closed. So really, it's the absence of sound. It's this. Oh. Oh, it's that gap between the and the O. If I was going to say that, uh-oh, something bad happened, or uh-oh, I dropped that, uh-oh. This is a phrase that you might use in English. Uh-oh. There's a glottal stop right in the middle there between those two sounds. Okay, so that's what she's using here in the phrase, not really. I'm not really, not really, not really. Her vocal cords are closing very quickly, and that's where the T is made here in the throat. It's not, I'm not really, I'm not really, I'm not really. She doesn't just, stop her voice. She actively closes the vocal cords together to stop the voice and stop the airflow rather abruptly. I'm not really, not really, not really. Okay, so you need to have that actual closure there. Now, that's a rule, this glottal stop T, linking with the glottal stop T. You're going to see this everywhere in any English conversation, but especially in our video today. So you'll see the same kind of symbols. You'll see a green line through a final T with a vertical line, meaning stop T. And I've noted the IPA symbol right after that. Now, later on in this sentence, we have the phrase, what I'm. So now we have a different T rule here. So don't get confused. This is still linking with the T, but this is where a T changes to a different sound. So here we have the T in what, and I've drawn a line through it because it changed to what's called a flap. This is the IPA symbol for flap. It looks like the letter R, but it doesn't have the top part to it. It's just the curved part. That is the IPA symbol for a flap. Now, the flap occurs in lots of other languages, but in American English, the flap can represent a T sound or a D sound when it's between vowels, and that T or D is at the beginning of an unstressed syllable. So that happens quite a bit when words end in a T. It's just very likely that you're going to link that to a word that begins with a vowel. And that happens in this phrase, what I'm. Okay, so you have the final T in what linking to the I in I'm, and usually that T will turn into a flap because it's between vowels. It's between the in what and the I in I'm. and it's unstressed, so it becomes a flap, and it's pronounced as what I'm, da 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 da. So the flap is like a really fast D consonant. Now, it's typically called the flap T. That's what you'll hear in American English pronunciation videos. And in fact, that's how I describe it lots of times as well. But also the D sound can turn into a flap, just a faster D, but it's just much more noticeable when it's a T that changes to the fast D, right? A D that changes to a faster D, it still kind of sounds like a D, but here we have it's a T changing. So that's why it gets this name flap T, but really it's just a flap. And again, in American English, the flap can represent a T or D, depending on where that T or D occur in the word. Here you have it as a link. What I'm is what's happening there. Okay, I'm going to continue with the T linking and then talk about the other links that you hear. Here we have another phrase, don't think. And again, now we have another stop T there, another glottal stop T, because you have a final T that's linking to a consonant, the TH. This one's a little tricky, I don't think, because there's another rule that could happen here where that T sound is actually dropped completely from the pronunciation. So that's another rule that we'll probably talk about in another linking section of this video. But here, I think I hear a very, very, very fast stop T. I don't think. And I think here she's kind of like, I don't think. Like her vocal quality is a little different. So it's hard to necessarily hear this stop T. It happens quickly, but I think she uses a stop T here. I think she's applying the rules of linking with a stop T. She's not doing the other thing where you can drop that T and say, I don't think. That's not what's happening, at least to my ears. So again, we have another stop T, a situation here where she's linking a stop T to another consonant. And then we have another flap link between good at. So here we have good at anything. Actually, these are two flaps. Okay, so unfortunately, the way the text is here, it's kind of broken the link between at and anything to two separate lines. But these both turn into flaps. Good at anything. Good at anything. Good at anything. Good at anything. You'll notice this is a D in good. It's a quick D. And this T in at becomes another fast D, another flap. So good at anything, because they're both between vowels. You have a D between vowels, you have a T between vowels, and they're unstressed. So it just naturally becomes flaps right there. Okay, so I'll play this back for you. I've talked about several different T linking opportunities here where the T sound changes. So listen for these specific T links where you get the stop T and the flap.
I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do now. I've always been stereotypical Barbie, and I don't think I'm really good at anything else. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do now. I've always been stereotypical Barbie, and I don't think I'm really good at anything else. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do now. I've always been stereotypical Barbie, and I don't think I'm really good at anything else.
Okay, let's continue with linking. And now I want to highlight one of the pink links that I see here. All right, so this phrase, supposed to. All right, so that's how these two words are pronounced. Dictionary pronunciation, supposed to, okay? But three interesting things are happening here, but thinking about just the linking, we've got two very interesting things happening. Number one, we have what's called the rule of three. And so that's noted here by RO3, rule of three. Now, if you've never heard of the rule of three before, I have some videos that I've published on it on my channel. Go back and look for rule of three, because you're going to see this everywhere in American English pronunciation, and it will really help to simplify your pronunciation in many, many words, many, many phrases, and It'll explain lots of things to you. It'll blow your mind if you've never heard of the rule of three. Here we have, so the rule of three, what is it? The rule of three states that when you have three or more consonants that occur next to each other, either within a word or when you're linking words together, typically that middle consonant can be dropped from the pronunciation. Okay? So can be, might be. It doesn't always work that way, but there are many, many phrases and words where it's very common. And that's probably just how you learned how to pronounce those words. Like the word Christmas, if that's a common word for you where you live, Christmas. Really, there's a T there in the middle that's never pronounced in American English. It's never Christmas. It's always Christmas. So there you have rule of three in the middle of a very common word, at least in the United States, and that T sound drops, okay? That's happening here as well. So you have the phrase supposed to. So the three consonants in a row are the Z consonant in suppose, the ED ending, which makes a T sound, makes a D, supposed, and then the T in to. So you have a Z, a D, and a T when those link together. So that middle consonant is a D sound, a D consonant. So that's dropped. So that's why there's a line through that final ED ending. It's a D sound that gets dropped. Now you have a link between a final Z and a T consonant. So here's the second interesting thing that's happening with this link. This happens quite often when you're linking a final Z consonant to a consonant that is unvoiced or devoiced. The Z consonant in the word suppose has voicing, and you're linking it to a T in to, which is voiceless. So you have what's called assimilation of voicing. Now, this is super, super common. The first consonant, which is a Z sound, will change, will assimilate so that it becomes more similar to that second consonant. The second consonant is the thing that influences the first one. So in this case, when you're linking suppose and to, right, because that D is dropped from rule of three, now you have a T influencing the Z, and it's going to drop. It's going to make the Z sound more like an S. It's going to make the Z drop its voicing so that it sounds closer to the T. So it's easier to link. That's called assimilation of voicing, and it happens all the time in English. So if you're listening to English and you're like, that should be a final Z consonant, but I don't hear any linking, or any voicing there. Well, yeah, it's probably because what are you linking it to? Lots of times that final voicing does get dropped. And even when you're not linking it, lots of times it gets dropped as well. Okay, so the phrase supposed to is very commonly pronounced as supposed to. Supposed to. So that Z pretty much loses all of its voicing. And so that's why I show a Z consonant with that little circle underneath. That means devoicing. Now, you might have a little bit of voicing at the beginning, but certainly the last 75% of that Z consonant, there's no voicing there. Supposed to, supposed to, supposed to. That's how you link it, okay? Now, moving on, we have a vowel to vowel link, the words now and I've. So I have a W sound right there where I'm talking about that link between now and I've. So here's this rule. We have the vowel ow, ow. Now look at what my lips are doing as I say that vowel at the end. Ow, ow. Notice how rounded my lips are, okay? So ow is a back vowel. It's a diphthong, but it ends with a back vowel sound. Back meaning the tongue is pulled back in the mouth. And when you link a back vowel to another vowel, your lips are typically in this W position. Now. Or ooh. Ooh, like in who, is another back vowel. Now, when I go to say that next vowel sound, like in the word I've, it's just very likely that a little W sound is going to come out while you transition between those two vowels because your lips are already in that W position. So the key here when doing vowel to vowel linking is You keep your voice turned on. Don't use a glottal stop there. She doesn't in this sentence. No, a native speaker might, but she doesn't, right? She linked. Now I've. Now I've. So feel for the vocal cord vibration. Keep your hand on your throat and make sure that you are keeping your vocal cords turned on. Now I've. Now, now I've. Now I've. Now I've. All right, so I'm going to play this back so you can hear it for those two specific links.
I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do now. I've always been stereotypical Barbie, and I don't think I'm really good at anything else. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do now. I've always been stereotypical Barbie, and I don't think I'm really good at anything else. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do now. I've always been stereotypical Barbie, and I don't think I'm really good at anything else.
All right, now, finally, we have the final thing we're going to talk about with this sentence, the reductions. So I hear kind of two reductions that I want to point out, actually three that I want to point out here. The word to in supposed to, she reduces that oo to the schwa vowel. Supposed to do now. Supposed to, ta. She doesn't say supposed to. She says ta. This is one of the most common reductions in spoken English. The reduction is happening to the vowel. It's not oo, it's right? So this schwa sound, is much faster to say and easier to say, and this is what gives English its rhythm. So you might think native speakers are just speaking very quickly, and they might be speaking a little bit faster. Oh, let me highlight the supposed to. So they might be speaking a little bit faster than you, sure, but really it's from these reductions. It's because native speakers are changing the vowels. They're not saying these long ooh vowels all the time. They're changing it into a schwa, and they're pronouncing it fast. The vowel is naturally faster than ooh. There's less movement that you have to make in order to pronounce it. So that's one reduction that she uses, supposed to do now. So if reductions are new to you, you really, really need to get these reductions down. Practice them. She has another reduction here of the word at. She changes the to something closer to a schwa sound. Good at anything? Good at anything else? I don't hear a full sound, good at anything else. She reduces this word at to and that's really common as well. This little word at, it's a function word, so it's going to get kind of shrunken down and it's going to be reduced, okay? So she does that reduction. And then one more really common reduction here is the word and. So I kind of noted this as in like an orange color where I've drawn a line through the D. So here, this word and, usually when you're linking the word and to another word that begins with a consonant, which doesn't happen here, but that's really common as well, you have the rule of three that happens. You have the N and the D in the word and the next consonant. So you have your three consonants, so that D gets dropped a lot. Now, lots of times, native speakers will over-apply this rule of dropping that D in the word and, just because it happens so much in English, and the word and, it's a function word. It gets reduced. So here she's kind of over-applied that rule of three rule. Really, you can't apply it here because she's linking and to a vowel, I. So you only have two consonants here. You don't have three. But it's just so common. This word and gets reduced so much that it's happening here as well. So she says, and I don't think I'm really good at anything else. And so she drops that final D in the word and pronounces it like an. Okay, so that's what she's done here. All right, so I'm going to play this scene for you again so you can hear everything all at once.
I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do now. I've always been stereotypical Barbie, and I don't think I'm really good at anything else.
Here's sentence number 2.
You saved Barbie land from patriarchy.
That was very much a group effort.
Now here is sentence number 2, and really it's 2 sentences spoken by 2 different characters. The first one is the creator of Barbie. The second sentence is from Barbie herself. So let's take a look at the intonation that both of these characters use. And again, you'll see the intonation is noted in the light blue color. So the first speaker, I hear her kind of, she goes up on her first word. You saved Barbie land from patriarchy. Okay, so she's up on you, up on bar, and then up on patriarchy. And she ends with downward intonation. And then Barbie says, that was, and she kind of stops there. Very much a group effort. And then you see above the word effort, there's like these little ... So this happens quite a bit in this scene where speakers are kind of whispering. So I noted that in the intonation line with dots when they drop out their voicing, and she kind of says, effort. She kind of has just a whisper on that first syllable, and then her voice comes back in at the end. So you'll see that quite a bit. Some of these speakers are doing that, and that by the way, is a really common feature of spoken American English, where maybe speakers for emphasis, they'll drop out their voicing, they'll make something a little bit more breathy when they're excited, they'll do these extra things. So when you hear a speaker do that and you're like, I want you to listen for that because it happens a lot. And, men and women are doing this, but probably women speakers are doing it more often with their voices. And both of these speakers in this scene are women. But you're gonna hear that kind of breathiness throughout this scene. So listen for it as well when you're watching American TV or American movies, American podcasts, and kind of note when you hear it happening. Why are the speakers doing that? It's probably, in a very emotional moment, or they're wanting to convey some extra emotion, some extra excitement, or something else is going on. It's not just they're just talking like normal. There's going to be a reason for it. So that's what's noted here with that ... I hear her kind of use a breathy beginning to this word, and then her voice kind of comes back in, and she kind of has that kind of fry sound at the end. All right, so I'll play this back for you a few times so you can hear this intonation.
You saved Barbie land from patriarchy.
That was very much a group effort.
You saved Barbie land from patriarchy.
That was very much a group effort.
You saved Barbie land from patriarchy.
That was very much a group effort.
Okay, next, let's look at the linking. And the interesting linking that I heard with the first sentence involved the rule of 3. Now, again, that's the RO3, rule of 3 that I just explained in our first sentence. So you're going to see it again here. And some of this is extremely, extremely common uses of the rule of 3. So if you're surprised that the speaker used it here twice in a row, then listen again and just, listen for this specific rule of 3, and you'll hear this in every speaker, lots of speakers. I know it's kind of crazy. The first one is a little strange, okay? The second one makes much more sense probably to most of you. So her first use of the rule of 3 is between the words saved and Barbie. Now, the word saved. Okay, so saved has that ed ending. So that's part of the grammar, right? She's talking about past tense. You saved. You have a V sound in save and a D sound for the ed ending, saved. Now, you need that ed ending, right, to note grammar, to make sure that your speaker knows that you are speaking with the correct grammar. And so why would that ed ending be dropped from the pronunciation? Because that makes it sound like you save Barbie land. You save Barbie land. That would be a grammatical error, right? That would be bad. So why is it happening here? Well, this is one of these weird exceptions in spoken English because of this rule of 3. So when you have 3 consonants in a row, that middle consonant can be dropped. So if you look at this phrase, you have the V and the D sounds in saved and the B sound in Barbie. So that middle consonant sound is a D, and that gets dropped, and that happens to be the ED ending. That happens to be the grammatical marker. So it does happen here. It does happen with the ED ending. When you're linking, when you have the rule of 3 that can be applied, I'll say it can happen. It happens often. And I want you to listen for that because there are certain times where that ED ending will get dropped in pronunciation, and it's okay to do. Now, you can only do that when when the rule of 3 applies. If she had said a different word after saved, like she put a word that began with a vowel, now she could not drop that ED ending because she wouldn't have the rule of 3 there. She would have 2 consonants in saved linking to a vowel, not the rule of 3. She can't drop it. She can't drop the ED because then that would be very much a grammatical error. All right, so it's a little tricky. It's only possible when the rule of 3 can be applied. So she links that phrase and it sounds like, you save Barbie land, you save Barbie land. She didn't say, you saved Barbie land, you saved Barbie land. So when you're speaking with a normal rate and a normal intonation, it sometimes is very natural to drop that ED ending when the rule of 3 applies. Now, she has another opportunity for rule of 3 when she links land to the word from. She has the ND in land and the FR consonant cluster in from, so that middle consonant is the D, and that gets dropped. So this one probably sounds a little bit easier for you. It sounds more natural. You save Barbie land from patriarchy, Barbie land from, Barbie land from, Barbie land from. I don't hear her use a D there. I don't hear her say Barbie land from, right? She drops that D, and that helps to make this link a lot easier to complete. Now, moving on, we have one more interesting link that I want to point out with the next sentence, that was. So here we have a final T in the word that, and you'll see there's a green line through it and then a vertical line. So that means that T was changed to what? Do you know the rule? You can see the symbol, a glottal stop T. You have a final T linking to a consonant. So whenever that happens, it's very common that that T sound will transition to the throat, and you'll make that that T sound with the vocal cords. That was, that was, that was. It's not that was. It's that was, that. So vocal cords come together, and it's the absence of sound, right? That's a true glottal stop. Vocal cords are closed. There's no sound. There's no airflow. It's that gap in sound. That is the T sound in English, okay? So I'm going to play this again for you so you can listen for these links.
You saved Barbie land from patriarchy.
That was very much a group effort.
You saved Barbie land from patriarchy.
That was very much a group effort.
You saved Barbie land from patriarchy.
That was very much a group effort.
Now let's talk about the reductions. So I hear just one reduction here, this little word. Oops, let me highlight the correct word for you. There we go. This little word a. Okay, so lots of times it's reduced to the schwa. And for most of you, you're probably already doing that. But if not, again, this is a very easy way to sound much more native-like, is to reduce that little word a to And that's what she does here. Mucha, mucha, mucha group effort. Mucha, mucha, mucha. And it links up nicely there. And that helps with her rhythm and the flow of her speech. One more interesting thing to point out is the final T in this last word, effort. So I have a capital T over it and I wrote true T underneath. All right, so we've been talking a lot about when words or syllables end in a T sound. The T can change. The T can change. That's true when linking. Now, here it's the end of her sentence and she's not linking it to anything else. So When that happens, you have a final T consonant. The speaker can decide if they want to either pronounce it as a true T consonant or a stop T. Okay, so either one is fine. She chose to make it a true T. She says effort, effort. She releases that T sound. That's fine. She could have done it like this, effort, effort. My tongue tip comes up there at the end, but you don't hear me release it. I don't say effort. I'm stopping that sound with my throat, and my tongue tip just comes up probably just out of habit. Effort, effort. Okay, she could have done that, but she chose to pronounce this with a true T. Effort, effort. All right, so that's fine. Just imitate what you hear. I'll play it back for you a couple of times as well.
You saved Barbie land from patriarchy.
That was very much a group effort.
You saved Barbie land from patriarchy.
That was very much a group effort.
You saved Barbie land from patriarchy.
That was very much a group effort.
And here's sentence number 3.
And you helped that mother and daughter connect.
They really helped each other.
Okay, here is sentence 3. And again, this is 2 sentences spoken by 2 different characters. The first one is, of course, the creator, and the second one is Barbie. So let's look at their intonation. And you'll see the intonation again with the light blue lines there above the text. So I hear in the first sentence, I hear the intonation kind of higher on the first word, lower on the second word, and then she comes up on helped, and then up even more on mother, and then daughter, connect. And she uses this nice little upward intonation there at the end, connect. So that's done on purpose. Okay, so typical American English intonation would say, this is a statement. So typically, you're going to end with downward intonation on that final word, connect, 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 necked would be low. But she does something opposite. She goes up, connect. And she does that because she's trying to make Barbie feel good about what she's doing. So she's kind of like softening her delivery of this one because she wants Barbie to feel good and be like, oh, you're right. I did help that mother and daughter connect. Now, if she had just said it like typical intonation and you help that mother and daughter connect, that doesn't have the same delivery, the same meaning as, and you help that mother and daughter connect. You know, she's almost asking her a question, right? She wants Barbie to think, connect, did I? Yeah, I did. She's right. She's prompting Barbie to think about it, and in a nice kind of subtle way by using this kind of softer intonation pattern. Barbie didn't buy it though. Barbie says, they really helped each other. So Barbie, again, is not really believing what the creator is trying to get her to believe. She's like, I don't believe it. So the creator tried to make Barbie feel good, but Barbie's not following it. So I'll play this back for you so you can hear this intonation.
And you helped that mother and daughter connect.
They really helped each other.
And you helped that mother and daughter connect.
They really helped each other.
And you helped that mother and daughter connect.
They really helped each other.
All right, now let's look at linking, and we're going to focus first on linking with the T sound. So I have a couple of green links I want to point out. So the first one is the link between the words that and mother. So again, you have this glottal stop T opportunity because the word that ends with a T and the word mother begins with a consonant. That T sound shifts to the throat. It's made with the vocal cords, and it sounds like that mother, that mother. The T sound is there. It's just made with the vocal cords, and it's the absence of sound. That mother. It's the gap between that and mother. Okay, so it's not the mother, the mother. The T's not dropped. You have to have this abrupt closure of the vocal cords. There's your T. That mother. That mother. Now we have another T, and I wanted to point out this link that's happening in the middle of a word because linking, of course, happens between syllables within words. It's not just linking between words. And we have this word daughter. All right, so this T is between vowels, so it becomes a flap, right? So here's your flap symbol that looks like the letter R without that little straight part. It's just the curved part. So daughter, der. It's a fast D. It's not daughter, daughter. That's much more of a British English pronunciation. American English would use a flap there because you're linking that T is between two vowels and it's unstressed, becomes the flap, and it's daughter, daughter. Okay, so I'm going to play this back for you so you can hear these two T links.
And you helped that mother and daughter connect.
They really helped each other.
And you helped that mother and daughter connect.
They really helped each other.
And you helped that mother and daughter connect.
They really helped each other.
All right, let's continue with linking, but I'm going to point out we have a couple more rule of three links here. Very common right here between the words and you. So you have an N, D, and a Y consonant in you. And so you have your three consonants in a row, so that middle consonant is dropped. So again, super, super common to do with the word and. Even when you're linking to a vowel, that final D drops quite a bit. So she pronounces this as anu, anu, anu. That's the link. It happens again, another and link here with and daughter. Okay, so we have the two consonants in and linking to the D in daughter. That middle D is dropped. And daughter, and daughter, and daughter. Not and daughter, and daughter. Okay, so maybe that one's easy. You've always been doing that. When you've said those two words, that feels very natural. That's great. But just realize, that's rule of three. You're doing it there. And then one more rule of three that is maybe a little bit more challenging to grasp or understand because it involves grammar. So here's another opportunity where you have a final ED ending that gets dropped from the pronunciation. Now, why does that happen? Because of the rule of three. All right. So it doesn't always happen. Again, the rule of three is optional, but it can happen. And this speaker chose to do it here. So you have the LP, two consonants there. The ED ending in helped becomes a T sound. So here you have actually four consonants, LPT in helped and the TH in that. So four consonants in a row. All right. A middle consonant can be dropped. It's almost always going to be a stop consonant like the T sound or the K sound. Here it's T. And that happens to be the ED ending of helped. So this is pronounced as help that, help that. There's no ED ending there. Again, you can only drop this pronunciation of the ED ending when the rule of three can apply. So when you're linking it to a word that begins with a consonant and you have at least three consonants right there. If she were linking this to a word that began with a vowel, she could not have done that. That would have been definitely a grammar error. All right, so pay attention to that. Be careful with that. So that's the link there. All right, so I'll play this back so you can hear these three rule of three links.
And you helped that mother and daughter connect.
They really helped each other.
And you helped that mother and daughter connect.
They really helped each other.
And you helped that mother and daughter connect.
They really helped each other.
All right, and now just two more things I want to point out. This word connect. Oh, actually, nope, there's going to be reductions I have to talk about. I see one that slipped my vision. But let's talk about this KT cluster in the word connect. All right, so that ending, the KT cluster ending, is challenging for non-native speakers to pronounce. they want to say connect. They want to drop that T, connect. All right. But here it's pronounced connect. You pronounce both the K and the T. Sometimes you can drop the T. When? The rule of three can be applied, right? If she were linking the word connect to another word that began with a consonant, then she would have K and T plus that consonant. So maybe that T would get dropped. And so maybe that's why lots of times when you pronounce the word connect, you're pronouncing it in a sentence and you're linking it to a word that begins with a consonant, and you're very likely to drop that T. All right, that could work. That could be fine. But here, she's not linking it to anything, right? So there's no rule of three. You just have to pronounce both of those consonants. Connect. Kt, kt, kt. So try this slowly at first. You're going to feel the back of your tongue go back for that K and then come immediately forward for the T. Kt, kt, kt. Connect, connect, connect. All right, so go slowly. Make sure you're getting both of those final consonant sounds. And also, depending on your native language, it might be really, really challenging to have two consonants like that in a row. You might want to say connect, connect, but you're dropping that T. Connect, connect. Get both of those consonants in there. And I wanted to point out here, helped each other. That phrase, I just highlighted this ED ending is a T ending, and she does not drop it like up in here, helped that, how that was dropped, because you had rule of three. This phrase, you do not have the rule of three. Okay, you have L, P, and T. You don't drop that middle P sound, all right? So helped, you're linking that to the E and each other. That T is pronounced. So you'll hear her say, helped each other, helped each other, helpty, helpty, helpty. That T is there as a true T sound. You can't drop it. And one more thing to point out before I play this for you again is this little reduction that I hear in the word you. All right, so this speaker, the actress, Rhea Perlman, I'm not quite sure if it's Rhea or Rhea. She is from New York City. Where is she from? Brooklyn? I think it's Brooklyn. So she speaks with a New York accent. All right. So you're going to hear her reduce this word you to ya a lot in this scene. That's common. People who live in New York tend to do that. I guess I've heard that a lot with characters who are from New York. But she does have this New York accent. And ya helped. And ya helped, and you helped. And she drops that D, and you helped that mother, and ya. So she chooses to pronounce you as ya. So that's fine. You can definitely do that. I don't tend to use that particular reduction that often in my speech. Not unless it's very, very informal, like what ya up to? What ya doing? Just talking with friends, I typically say you. I typically say ooh, but maybe a fast ooh, okay? But again, I've heard this particular reduction used a lot on the East Coast, so within the New York accent, which is fine. And that's what she does here. So I'll play this again for you so you can listen for those that reduction, as well as this KT cluster and the T in helped each other.
And you helped that mother and daughter connect.
They really helped each other.
And you helped that mother and daughter connect.
They really helped each other.
And you helped that mother and daughter connect.
They really helped each other.
Here's sentence number 4.
Maybe you're self-effacing, Barbie?
Maybe I'm not Barbie anymore.
Okay, now let's move on to the next sentence. This again is actually 2 sentences spoken by both of the characters again. The first character being the creator of Barbie, and the second character is Barbie herself. And we'll talk about the intonation that I hear them use. So you're going to see the light blue line indicate the intonation or the melody of their voices as they say these lines. So this first line, maybe you're self-effacing, Barbie. So this character has like a nice little total like upward in her voice, a nice little up. Maybe you're self-effacing Barbie? You know, she's kind of putting this idea out there because she's not quite sure. This is just her guess. You know, maybe Barbie has now changed to a different type of Barbie, self-effacing Barbie. She's stereotypical Barbie, but now she's self-effacing Barbie, which means you kind of don't, you're not boastful. You're always downplaying any of your accomplishments. So she's like, well, maybe you're self-effacing Barbie, because she's thinking this could be a possibility. So I really like her intonation there. But Barbie, again, is not necessarily buying that, but she does make kind of a discovery here. Maybe I'm not Barbie anymore. And it's kind of like a ... Like she's kind of thinking, oh, she just discovered that she's different now. She's becoming a different type of Barbie, or not Barbie at all. And it just now dawned on her that this could be happening. So I really like the intonation that you're going to hear in these two sentences. The first one, again, is more like question, like not quite sure. She's just putting this idea out there. But Barbie's like much more, she's realizing something here. Maybe I'm not Barbie anymore. So very nice intonation patterns here that really convey the meaning that they're going for. So let's listen to that again.
Maybe you're self-effacing Barbie?
Maybe I'm not Barbie anymore.
Maybe you're self-effacing Barbie?
Maybe I'm not Barbie anymore.
Maybe you're self-effacing Barbie?
Maybe I'm not Barbie anymore.
All right. So now let's talk about the linking that I hear. And I want to point out some of the linking in the second sentence here, and you'll see it's noted with this lime green color. So we'll just go in order. So here we have a vowel to vowel link between the E in maybe and the I in I'm. And you'll see I noted it with a J or a y sound. The letter J makes the y sound in the IPA. So this corresponds to this vowel to vowel link rule. So the word maybe ends with an E vowel. The E vowel is a front vowel in English. And so when I say the E vowel, look at my lips, and then I want you to say it as well and feel where your tongue is in the mouth when you say E. E. The tongue is already up where the y consonant is made. The y consonant is like the sound in yellow or yes. Yeah. So the tongue is already up there in that same space when you say E or when you say any of these front vowels. So it's very natural that when you continue with your vocal cord vibration and you link to that next word or syllable that begins with a vowel, from a front vowel to another vowel, that the y sound is going to come out during the transition. It's not really there. She's not saying maybe yime. It's not an actual phone, like an actual pronounced sound. It's just kind of there in the transition. So think about that. Think about as you're linking. So this happens twice in this sentence between maybe I'm and Barbie anymore. Both of those words, maybe and Barbie, end with E, and you're linking them with a vowel. So think about this y sound as a little sound that's there to help you complete that link. And the key thing here is to keep your vocal cords turned on. If you're feeling on your throat and you feel maybe I'm, if you feel like a gap between the two words, that means you didn't link it. You used a glottal stop. You stopped your vocal cords. And that's not how this vowel to vowel link occurs. So maybe I'm and Barbie anymore. Maybe I'm Barbie anymore. Barbie anymore. Put your hand on your throat and feel for that vibration. That's your vocal cords vibrating. Keep your vocal cords turned on as you link those two words together. So that's your vowel to vowel links that you can practice in the sentence. Now we have another important link here that, again, you will have seen prior to this analysis of this sentence, and then you'll see it in the future sentences as well. This stop T link to another consonant. So we have a final T in the word not, and it turns into a glottal stop T made with the vocal cords because you're linking a T to a consonant. Not Barbie, not Barbie. You have that absence of sound, the vocal cords actively closing, stopping the airflow, and also stopping the vibration. It's nothing. It's here, not Barbie. But there's got to be that gap. It has to be that abrupt, crisp ending. You can't just stop your vocal cords and just stop talking. I'm not Barbie. I'm not Barbie. You need to have that crisp ending to it. I'm not Barbie. I'm not Barbie. And actively close those vocal cords. All right, so listen to this again and pay attention to these 3 specific links.
Maybe you're self-effacing, Barbie?
Maybe I'm not Barbie anymore.
Maybe you're self-effacing, Barbie?
Maybe I'm not Barbie anymore.
Maybe you're self-effacing, Barbie?
Maybe I'm not Barbie anymore.
Okay, and one more thing to point out with this sentence is a very common reduction that that the speaker uses, and you'll hear this reduction everywhere in spoken English, and it's special to point out because it's also a contraction. So the reduction is the word your. So that's how this contraction, you are, is pronounced when it's stressed. Your. Typically, it's pronounced with the or R-colored vowel, but here it's reduced to your. Just like the word Y-O-U-R. Okay, that word also reduces to your, Just this vowel, not or ooer, or these longer R-colored vowels. It reduces down to just this unstressed sound, your. Now, a lot of people see this contraction and they want to pronounce the full 2 words. They want to say, maybe you are self-effacing Barbie. You are pronouncing, they put in the full words that the contraction is representing. So number 1, that's not correct. This is a contraction. It's not spelled you are. It's a contraction, your, but it's reduced to your. Super, super common to happen here. So I'm going to play the sentences again for you here. Now listen for this specific reduction.
Maybe you're self-effacing, Barbie?
Maybe I'm not Barbie anymore.
Maybe you're self-effacing, Barbie?
Maybe I'm not Barbie anymore.
Maybe you're self-effacing, Barbie?
Maybe I'm not Barbie anymore.
And here's sentence number 5.
You understand that humans only have one ending. Ideas live forever. Humans not so much. You know that, right?
I do.
And here's our next sentence. Again, this is a longer sentence spoken by the creator of Barbie, and then Barbie has one little line at the bottom. So we'll talk about their intonation first and take a look at the blue line to see what the intonation is like in these sentences. So I hear the first speaker kind of go up on understand. You understand that humans only have one ending. So she's using some interesting intonation here. She's probably has a lot more peaks in her intonation, a lot more upward intonation on lots of words than maybe would normally be used, okay? She's not having huge peaks. There's not a huge contrast between the lowest and the highest, but she does have this kind of da-da-da-da-da. Now, that's what the character decided to do. So if you're paying attention to that, this might be a little too many peaks for my taste, but that's what she did. But importantly, she goes down on ending. Okay, so that's important to American English intonation. Typically for sentences, for declarative statements like this, it will end with downward intonation. End of a thought group, downward intonation. Then she begins the word ideas, and you'll see the intonation line is represented with ... That's because this is a breathy moment. She drops out her voicing, ideas, ideas, She kind of whispers it. So I represented that with a ... a break in the intonation line. But then she pops up on dias live forever. Humans, not so much. Okay, so up on ideas, and then a little bit on forever, and then on humans, and then kind of flat. And then you know that, right? So here at the end of right, she ends with upward intonation. She's asking Barbie a question. And this is a yes-no question. You know that, right? Has that little tag, right? And the answer to that is either yes or no. So typically your intonation is going to go up there. And then Barbie begins her response with a kind of a breathy, I do. And then do has that typical up and down curve to it. So again, she begins with a breathy voice, but then has typical intonation here at the end. Okay, so listen back and pay attention to this intonation.
You understand that humans only have one ending. Ideas live forever. Humans, not so much. You know that, right?
I do.
You understand that humans only have one ending. Ideas live forever. Humans, not so much. You know that, right?
I do.
You understand that humans only have one ending. Ideas live forever. Humans, not so much. You know that, right?
I do.
All right, now let's talk about the linking that I hear. And I do hear some T links that I need to point out, and also some vowel-to-vowel links and some other interesting links in terms of voicing and the linking with the N consonant, which I didn't point out every link that happens here, of course. I want to keep this as concise as possible. So just know that there's other linking going on as well. There always is linking as often as it can happen. Native speakers will link words together, but I'm only pointing out a few here and there. So let's just go in order, okay? So we have up here a vowel-to-vowel link between the words you understand. You understand. Again, this is a back vowel, oo, linking to another vowel. So with the back vowels, you'll notice my lips are rounded in the W position. You understand. So when I keep my vocal cords on, which you should if you're going to be imitating this vowel-to-vowel link, the W sound is just very natural to be there in the transition. It's not really there. It's not transcribed as you understand. She's not saying wonderstand, right? But this little W does occur during the link. You understand. You understand. Okay, and again, keep your hand on your throat to feel the vibration of your vocal cords to make sure that your vocal cords are vibrating, that they are staying on as you link those two words together. Then if we come down here, we have another link, one ending. And I typed this out how you might see it spelled out phonetically. This is the word one. It ends with the N consonant, and it's linking up with a vowel. So this kind of link, a final N or M or NG, any of the three nasal sounds linking to a vowel, super, super easy to do, but not everybody's doing it. So I wanted to point this one out. So you just allow that N sound to carry over to the beginning of the next word. One ending. One ending. Again, keep your vocal cords turned on. One ending. I can feel my vocal cords vibrating. And imagine that these two words, one ending, it's actually one word. One ending. One ending. That's the link. It's pretty easy to do. You just have to remember to do it, and it's super common. Okay, so look for these opportunities where a word is ending with M, N, or NG, the three nasals. And if it's linking to a vowel, almost always that link will be there, and it's pretty easy to do. Then we have another link here between live and forever. All right, so I've noted this with a pink line through that V in live. And here you see the IPA symbol. It's a V symbol with a little circle underneath it. So that little circle means devoiced. That means this final V consonant in live, lost some of its voicing or all of its voicing. It just depends. Why did that happen when you linked it with the word forever? So I've talked about this before. This is assimilation of voicing. Any guesses to why that final V consonant might have lost some or all of its voicing when you linked it to forever? Well, I'll give you the answer. It's because the word forever begins with a voiceless consonant, the F consonant. So this is super common whenever you have a final voiced consonant linking to a voiceless consonant, and especially here because the V and the F consonants are made in the same place in the mouth. So the lip and tongue position is the same. The air release is the same. The only difference is the voicing. The V consonant has voicing. The F consonant doesn't. So it's super likely to make this link easy that that F consonant is going to influence the V consonant and make the V drop its voicing to make them more similar, to make them assimilate. Okay? So super common ideas live forever. Live forever, live forever. There's probably some voicing, a little bit of voicing at the beginning of that V consonant, but certainly the last 50% of it, last 75% of it, the voicing has dropped out in order to assimilate with the voiceless F consonant. So listen for that one in particular. You might already be doing that, but that's what's happening. It's assimilation of voicing, and it happens quite often when linking a final voiced consonant, especially fricatives like the V consonant or the Z consonant, to a voiceless consonant. All right, and now we have two more links to talk about. The link between not so and that right. And these two use the same link. They use a stop T to complete the link. Now, again, this rule is when you're linking a final T consonant to a consonant. Lots of times that final T turns into a glottal stop T that's made here with the throat. Not so, that right, not so. So feel the vocal cords close together. That's the T sound. Not so, that right. Okay? So I'm going to play this back for you so you can listen for the vowel to vowel link, the N to vowel link, the assimilation of voicing, and these two stop T links.
You understand that humans only have one ending. Ideas live forever. Humans not so much. You know that, right?
I do.
You understand that humans only have one ending. Ideas live forever. Humans not so much. You know that, right?
I do.
You understand that humans only have one ending. Ideas live forever. Humans not so much. You know that, right?
I do.
All right. Now let's talk about some other interesting reductions that I hear, and then a final T sound that I want to point out. So first, the reduction. Look here at the word forever. That's probably how you have been pronouncing it. Forever. Forever. But I want to point out that that's a reduction, that there's a reduction there in the middle of the word. Forever. It looks like for, F-O-R, for. That little word is often reduced to fur, the unstressed sound, not that full or vowel. Here you have it in a word, forever, and maybe that's how you learned how to pronounce it. But I just wanted to point that out. F-O-R, for, is often reduced to fur. So in the word forever, it's reduced. in a sentence, like this is for you, for you, it's also reduced. So pay attention to that little word and see if you can identify when the speakers are reducing it. But here it's happening in the word forever. And one more thing to point out, this word right. So we're always talking about this final T sound and making sure that you are pronouncing it like a stop T or a flap or whatever. Sometimes it disappears in the pronunciation and da-da-da. Okay, so here we have T at the end of a word, but she doesn't link it to anything. So again, speaker's choice. Do you pronounce this as a stop T or as a true T? Those are your choices. It would never be a flap. The flap only occurs in American English when you're linking that sound to something else. It never occurs at the end of a word because if you're not linking it. Okay, so those are your two options. A final T, is it going to be a true T or a stop T? And I've given you the answer here. She pronounces this as a stop T. You know that, right? 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 She doesn't say right. She ends that sound in her throat, uses her vocal cords to make that T sound, and it has that nice, crisp, abrupt ending to it, right? Her tongue tip might come up, right? But the stop happens here in the throat. It's not happening where the tongue tip is coming up, right? I can still make that sound, that same word, right? And not move my tongue at all. So sometimes the tongue tip will come up here at the end of a phrase or end of a sentence, just out of habit, but you don't release it, right? Your vocal cords have closed off that sound, okay? And that's what she does here. That's what she chooses to do. She could have pronounced it as right, but she didn't. So in the spirit of imitation, we're going to imitate the way that she does it, all right? So listen back to this sentence and pay attention to everything.
You understand that humans only have one ending. Ideas live forever. Humans not so much. You know that, right?
I do.
You understand that humans only have one ending. Ideas live forever. Humans not so much. You know that, right?
I do.
You understand that humans only have one ending. Ideas live forever. Humans not so much. You know that, right?
I do.
Here's sentence number 6.
Being a human can be pretty uncomfortable.
I know.
Okay, now on to the next sentence. So again, we have the creator speaking first, and then we have Barbie with her little line at the bottom. And let's talk about the intonation. So I hear the creator, this first sentence, she goes, being a human can be pretty uncomfortable. So this is kind of typical intonation here. She just has a few bumps, and then the little words can be, those two little words, those are function words. Again, you'll see her intonation is low on those words. She also says them faster. And that is typically what will happen. You have content words that are going to have the stress, and so those could also include upward intonation. You'll notice the little word a, which she also reduces. We can talk about that now to the schwa sound being her intonation goes down on that reduced word, and her intonation goes down on the two function words can be. That is very, very common. And then she ends kind of with flat, maybe slightly downward intonation on the word uncomfortable. And then Barbie, I know, has, typical intonation there. She's ending with downward intonation on the word no. And she begins with a little bit higher intonation on the word I. Now, that word I is a pronoun. So you might think, oh, is that unstressed? Well, here, I know. According to her intonation and her stress pattern, she chooses to stress it. And that's because she wants to highlight that I know. I know that, not someone else. And she's just stressing it. She's emphasizing that she knows this thing, not that she knows it, but it's her. She knows it, not someone else. Okay, so she chooses to stress this pronoun, I, for emphasis in order to convey that meaning. So listen back and pay attention to this intonation.
Being a human can be pretty uncomfortable.
I know.
Being a human can be pretty uncomfortable.
I know.
Being a human can be pretty uncomfortable.
I know.
And now let's talk about the linking that I hear. And there's only kind of two links that I want to point out. Here we have a NG linking to a vowel. So here's another nasal to vowel link that is easy to do. But this one is a little bit more challenging than linking an N or an M to a vowel, simply because it's the NG sound. Being, you don't put a G sound in there. You don't say ga. It's not a hard release of the tongue. It still is an NG linking to a vowel, not an NG to a G linking to a vowel. Okay, so let me demonstrate those two side by side. I'll give you the correct link and then the incorrect link with a G sound and see if you can hear the difference. So here's the correct one. Being. Now the incorrect. Ga. I'm definitely inserting a G sound where it shouldn't be. And this speaker doesn't do that here. She says bing. Okay, so practice that link, smooth out that connection, and just be sure that you're not inserting a hard G sound. Now, the second link I want to point out is a common word, pretty. And this link is using the flap. And I wanted to point this out because it's happening within a word, right? This is linking between syllables in a word. Linking happens there too. And this T sound in the word pretty turns into a flap. Pretty. Pretty. It's not a T sound. It's a flap. Why? Because the T is occurring between vowels and it's unstressed. So T between vowels unstressed equals flap almost always. Okay, so pretty. So think about these T's as a very fast D sound. Pretty. And we already talked about the word a reducing to That's a very common reduction. I want to point out one other strange thing that's happening with the word uncomfortable. Okay, so this speaker, as I mentioned, the actress is from, I believe it's Brooklyn, so from New York. So she speaks with a New York accent. And in fact, sometimes New Yorkers will pronounce the word uncomfortable like she does, uncomfortable, She's reduced that sound to the schwa sound. Now, I don't recommend doing that with this word. I recommend making sure you get the sound in there. Uncomfortable. But she has a different accent. She's from New York, so she reduces that R sound there. So depending on where, if you live in the US, you might want to imitate if you live on the East Coast or in New York, that might be the accent that you want to imitate. I'm in California, and so uncomfortable sounds strange to me because it's not part of my accent. Okay, so depending on where you live or the accent you're going for, there is variability, of course, in the United States and how things are pronounced. And this is one of those examples of a word where the R sound is reduced specifically because of her accent. She's from New York. All right, so I'll play this full sentence for you so you can listen for everything.
Being a human can be pretty uncomfortable.
I know.
Being a human can be pretty uncomfortable.
I know.
Being a human can be pretty uncomfortable.
I know.
Here's sentence number 7.
Humans make things up like patriarchy and Barbie just to deal with how uncomfortable it is.
I understand that.
And then you die.
Okay, so now on to the next sentence, which is actually 3 sentences. We have both of the speakers, again, speaking in this section. We begin with the creator of Barbie speaking, and then Barbie speaks, and then the creator speaks again at the very end. So let's take a quick look at the intonation. And this is a lot of text on one slide. I understand that, but we'll get through it together. So look at this blue line, and you can see her intonation kind of up on humans, down, and then she kind of steps up. Humans make things up, like humans make things up. Like, so she has this step upwards intonation on the phrase, on the 3 words, make things up. Make things up like patriarchy and Barbie. She has interesting intonation there. So make things up. She goes up on that. It kind of follows the words that she's saying, makes things up. She goes up on up. So she's doing that to draw attention to this 3-word phrase. So, she's changing the typical intonation on purpose for emphasis. Okay, and it works here. And then on the word Barbie, she has this little up, down, up, right? And so again, that's also drawing attention to the word Barbie. So you might not feel like that's entirely natural for you to do. Like if you were to say this sentence, you might not have known that you could do that, right? But this is why it's so fun when you study other people's intonation patterns, is you can kind of see what did they play around with? What did they do differently to their voice? She definitely changed her intonation. She deviated from typical intonation to make this more interesting and to highlight certain words. Okay, so that's what you should be doing when you're speaking to make your speech more dynamic. Feel free to change up your intonation depending on the words that you want to highlight, the words that are important to your message. So that's what she does here. Make things up. And Barbie, and then she takes her time on the word how, just to deal with how uncomfortable it is. Okay, so she's using fun intonation here, and she's highlighting this, things on purpose. It is. She does end with downward intonation though, so that's typical of most American English sentences. And then Barbie, I understand that. I understand that. So she kind of has flat intonation here. I understand that. Okay, so not super exciting. And then this sentence, which is funny, it's supposed to be a joke. And in fact, Barbie does laugh here. The creator says, and then you die. Okay, so she's having fun with duration of words, having fun with her intonation, and then you die. Okay, so very fun intonation here. This is not just normal intonation. She's doing this for dynamic reasons. All right, so I'm going to play this back for you so you can listen for all this fun intonation that the speakers use.
Humans make things up like patriarchy and Barbie just to deal with how uncomfortable it is.
I understand that.
And then you die. Humans make things up like patriarchy and Barbie just to deal with how uncomfortable it is.
I understand that.
And then you die. Humans make things up like patriarchy and Barbie just to deal with how uncomfortable it is.
I understand that.
And then you die.
All right, now let's talk about linking, and we'll just kind of go in order here. So this phrase here, just to, all right? Let me just highlight those words, just to. Here we go. So we have the rule of 3 happening here. So this word just, many, many, many times, that T in just is dropped from the pronunciation. And why? Because of the rule of 3. That's what the RO3 means underneath that pink link that I've made for you. So it's very likely that in conversation, in sentences, that you're going to link the word just to a word that begins with a consonant. It's just highly likely. There are lots of words that begin with consonants. So that just is likely to happen. And when that happens, you've got 3 consonants in a row. the S and T in just, and then whatever that beginning consonant is of the next word. So in just to, it happens to be a T consonant. So you've got an S, a T, and a T. So she does not say just to, just to. She does not pronounce that T at the end of just. She drops it and she says just to, just to. That's the link, just to, just to. Okay, so depending on your native language, you might always be trying to pronounce that ST ending of just to. I just went. I just had. I'm just going to the store. Lots of times it's just. I'm just going to the store. I just went to the store. Just deal, just to deal, just have. Okay, so that's a really easy way for you to sound more native-like is pay attention to what you're linking the word just to. And if that link occurs and it's linking up with a consonant, drop that T in just. And almost always that's what that speaker is going to be doing anyway. Okay? Then we have a vowel-to-vowel link in how uncomfortable, how uncomfortable, how W sound, right? Because we have ow at the end of how, and that diphthong is considered a back diphthong because it ends with the back vowel, how. Lips are already rounded in a W position, so you keep your vocal cords turned on. How uncomfortable, how one. Make sure you put your hand on your throat so you can feel the vibration. How one. Keep the voice turned on. Okay, so that's your vowel-to-vowel link there. Then we have the link between uncomfortable and it and is. Okay, so we're just going to talk about the links here. So we have uncomfortable, which ends in a dark L. Uncomfortable. All right, so if you've been practicing your American English pronunciation, you might think, okay, dark L, tongue tip down. Uncomfortable, And in fact, sure, when I say the word uncomfortable by itself, my tongue tip is down at the end of that L sound. I'm not bringing my tongue tip up. I'm making the dark L with the back of my tongue. Uncomfortable, And we'll talk about this dark L in the next slide. So, tongue tip down. However, when linking with the dark L, when you link a dark L or a final L to a vowel, you use a light L to do the link. Your tongue tip does come up to complete that link. So that's why I've spelled out lidiz. Okay, so that's these two words. It is, but I'm pretending there's a little light L there. Uncomfortable it is. All right, so that's the first link. You're going to link uncomfortable and it with a light L. Uncomfortable lid. Then the T in it becomes a flap. All right, so here you have a T sound that's changing because it's between vowels. So uncomfortable it is. Uncomfortable it is. And so these two words, it is, you're really saying lidiz when you complete that link and you turn that T sound into a flap. Lidiz, 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 lidiz. Uncomfortable it is. And really, this full phrase, all of this is linked. How uncomfortable it is. All right, so allow yourself to imagine, these words are just blending together and just listen. Listen to what you hear. Don't think about these words as separate because here they're all linked together. Okay, let's continue with the linking and then I'll play it back for you. We have another vowel-to-vowel link. I understand. I understand. This is a front vowel, I, E, linking to a vowel. So we have this front vowel rule where you use a small y sound to complete the link because the tongue is already in that position. I understand. Just keep your vocal cords turned on when you do that link. And now, again, we have the rule of 3. So again, you're going to see this rule of 3 everywhere. So we have this word understand and that. So she's linking the word understand, which ends in 2 consonants, the N and D consonant, to the TH consonant in that. So rule of 3, you've got your 3 consonants. The middle consonant typically drops out. That's the D in understand. So it's pronounced as, I understand that. I understand that. I understand that. There's no D there. It's not, I understand that. I mean, if she wanted to stress the word understand, she could have pronounced that full D, but she didn't. She dropped that D and just linked it. I understand that. Okay. Then one more link to point out, and then I'll play it for you. The 2 words and then. So this is another rule of 3. And for some reason, my cursor will not let me, whatever. I can't highlight both of them, but you get the idea. And then. All right, so here's a very, very common application of the rule of 3 using the word and. You have N and D linking to the consonant TH. That D drops out, and you just pronounce it as an. And then, and then, and then, and then, and then. There's no D sound there. All right, so listen back for all of these links.
Humans make things up like patriarchy and Barbie just to deal with how uncomfortable it is.
I understand that.
And then you die. Humans make things up like patriarchy and Barbie just to deal with how uncomfortable it is.
I understand that.
And then you die. Humans make things up like patriarchy and Barbie just to deal with how uncomfortable it is.
I understand that.
And then you die.
And one more thing about linking. I've underlined the D here in this and, okay? Why did I do that? I just wanted to point out that she doesn't link this phrase together. You can see there's even a break in that blue line in her intonation. She fully pronounces that D. Patriarchy and Barbie, she pronounces that D. So she doesn't do a link there. So I just wanted to point out that you don't always drop the D in and. And in fact, the speaker here decided not to link it at all. So she fully pronounced and then that helped there to be a gap between and Barbie. So then Barbie could stand out. And also the word and, because she's listing things that humans make up. And so they make up patriarchy and Barbies. They're making up 2 things, 2 really big things. And there's a gap between and Barbie. So that makes and stand out because you hear that final D, then there's a gap. And then Barbie really stands out because the intonation is high and also it's not linked at the very beginning. So that automatically makes the word stand out. Okay, so she did that on purpose to emphasize those words. So I just wanted to point that out there. So let's talk about some reductions that I hear. So we have that common reduction of the word to, right? To, ta, justa, just a deal, justa. That oo vowel has now reduced to the schwa. Very common reduction. If you're not already using this reduction, definitely incorporate this one into your speech because this little word to is often reduced to ta. Lots of times that T changes to a flap, depending on what it's linking to. So it changes a lot. Okay, so listen for that reduction. And then we have again the word uncomfortable, but because of this speaker's specific accent being from New York, she reduces this sound in the middle of the word to a schwa, uncomfortable, uncomfortable, instead of uncomfortable. She doesn't pronounce the R. Now, I don't recommend you drop this R. I recommend that you pronounce it uncomfortable, uncomforter. Don't drop the R. But she's from New York, and that's her specific style. Okay. And then there is one more reduction. This is another one that's kind of unique to this speaker because of where she was born, where she was raised in Brooklyn. Yeah. She reduces the word you to yeah. Now, this is, again, it's not a reduction that I typically use. I typically will pronounce you as you with the oo vowel. I might pronounce the oo really quickly, but I typically don't reduce it to ya. It sounds a little too informal to me, and it's just not my style. But it does qualify as a word. It's a grammar word. It's a pronoun, a function word. So you can reduce it, and in fact, she does here. And then ya die, and then ya. So you can also imitate that reduction if you'd like. And then just one more word to point out, we have that. Okay, so she uses a stop T at the end of this word. Again, speaker's choice. She's not linking it to anything else, so she could either say that with a true T or that with a stop T. She chose to use a stop T here in the throat. All right, so let's play this back for you, and so you can listen to these reductions and some of the linking and listen to everything.
Humans make things up like patriarchy and Barbie just to deal with how uncomfortable it is.
I understand that.
And then you die. Humans make things up like patriarchy and Barbie just to deal with how uncomfortable it is.
I understand that.
And then you die. Humans make things up like patriarchy and Barbie just to deal with how uncomfortable it is.
I understand that.
And then you die.
Here's sentence number 8.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to be a part of the people that make meaning, not the thing that's made. I want to do the imagining. I don't want to be the idea. Does that make sense?
Okay, now we are on to a very long sentence spoken by Barbie. And here is where I heard the one word that spoiled it all, that gave it away, that the actress, Margot Robbie, was faking her American accent. Like I mentioned in the introduction, it's pretty convincing. Her American accent is pretty convincing, right? And I didn't know for a long time that she was Australian. I just assumed she was American, but she's not. So I wasn't listening for this. I wasn't trying to poke holes in her accent because I think she's actually doing a pretty good job and I think she's a good actress and all of that. So I was enjoying her acting. But then she just said this one word and I thought, oh, and it took me right out. And so I'll get to that. It's on this slide, okay? But let's look at her intonation here. And actually, you know what? I'm going to point out the word right now because you're going to listen to it in a second when I replay the intonation. And I want to know, I'm not going to point out the word. Listen, when I play this again, listen to the intonation and see if now that you're listening for a word, can you hear the word that really stood out to me, okay? We'll do that first. So first, intonation. So we're going to talk about, we're going to look at the blue line here. That's the intonation that she's using. Now, she's using just typical, yeah, kind of going down, because she's realizing something right now. And then she uses some interesting intonation like on I want to, which she pronounces as wanna. She uses the informal contraction there of wanna. And I've noted it with ... kind of this broken blue line. That means she uses just her breath. It's kind of like a whisper. I wanna be. So she drops her voicing there and she does that again on the word that. I think, and on the word does. So she does that throughout this section of the scene. And that's done for emphasis, and so you don't have to do that as a speaker, although I think it does add some just some interestingness to your voice and some variety, and it conveys emotion. She's really feeling a lot of emotion in this scene. And so that's why she's kind of playing with her voice a little bit and kind of making it breathy on some of these areas that she really feels strongly about. So if you're struggling to make your voice interesting or to add variety and you just don't know what to do, play around with that on important words. Play with the tone of your voice and how you're producing your voice, and just see if you can make it sound a little different, and just for the sake of investigating, what can you do to your voice to make it sound a little different? This is what native speakers are doing. Okay. So you'll hear her use this throughout this section. So she starts out kind of breathy. And then B, she has up and down, be a part. So again, she has breathy on and then part of the people that, and again on that, she's got that breathiness she has a break there, meaning, not the thing that's made. So she's using good intonation here to highlight certain words. She wants to be, so she wants to become, or, become, she wants to be part of the people that make meaning, not the thing that's made. So she's using deliberate intonation here to highlight these stressed words, these ideas that she's now just realizing. And then she has a little bit of bump on imagining. And then here she says it very quickly. I don't want to be the idea. So she's also playing with the duration or the rate of her speech. She's speeding up on certain areas where the words aren't as important, and she's holding out or pausing on other words that are more important. And she's an actress and she has a coach who's telling her what to do, and she's practiced this, but you can practice this too. You want to play with the duration of words, hold out words that are important, make them longer, and other little words that aren't as important, make them faster. Play with the duration, play with the rate of your speech. That's the variety that good speakers will use. They'll play with these kind of elements. And then we've already talked about playing with intonation and the quality of your voice to kind of highlight certain words as well. So it's a little bit of everything that she's doing, but that's what makes this scene so good, is she's using all the things that she can to make it interesting. And then this last sentence, does that make sense? So she has that breathiness, and then sense, she kind of ends with kind of flat intonation, but she is asking a question here, and she's not quite sure. She's a little bit maybe not embarrassed, but she just unsure of herself a little bit, So she's double checking with the creator. She's just had this idea that she wants to be human, and does that make sense? And she's not quite sure. So I'll play this back for you so you can listen more carefully to her intonation. And I've already cued you on this. So listen for the one word that possibly gave it away, that she is not American.
Yeah. I want to be a part of the people that make meaning, not the thing that's made. I want to do the imagining. I don't want to be the idea. Does that make sense? Yeah. I want to be a part of the people that make meaning, not the thing that's made. I want to do the imagining. I don't want to be the idea. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. I want to be a part of the people that make meaning, not the thing that's made. I want to do the imagining. I don't want to be the idea. Does that make sense?
All right. So were you able to guess? I'll just tell you right now. It's this word here. People. People. So I've underlined 3 times the dark L. It really was that sound. The people. Oh. She pronounced it more Australian, like the people. The people. Oh. Much more rounded lips, not the dark L. I did not hear a dark L here. I heard the people. Oh. I heard this rounded sound. Now, this dark L is so hard to pronounce, but it's so American. So some people are like, the dark L, it doesn't really matter. You're right. I mean, I still understood her. It did not impact my ability to understand her. But, her job right now is to be a speaker of American English, and she didn't fool me there because of this one sound. So that's all. I just thought that was interesting. It just took me out of the scene right away, and I heard it, and I replayed it in slow motion, and sure enough, yeah, she pronounces it differently there. So I'll play that for you here, just this word, and I'll slow it down and just listen for the difference. I pronounce it as people, people. And she says people, So there's less tongue tension. It's more of a rounded, more of a front sound. Okay, so listen carefully.
I want to be a part of the people. I want to be a part of the people. Be a part of the people.
All right, so that was the word. Again, this dark L sound is so hard. I work on the dark L with every client that I work with because it's just so hard, but it's such an American sound. So, if achieving the closest American accent as you can is your goal, then I would recommend, focusing on this dark L sound. So now let's look at the linking, and we'll start with this phrase here, part of. So the speaker chooses to do something interesting here. She chooses to pronounce this final T in part like a stop T, even though it's not linking to a consonant. Okay, that is her choice. And what that does is it draws attention to the word part. I want to be a part of the people. So she is kind of, that goes along with how she's chosen to pace this sentence and chunk this sentence. So the minute that you add, she's done something different there. She's made that stop T. It kind of does draw attention to the word part because now it sounds a little short. And that's just the decision she made. Okay, so it doesn't follow the actual rules of using a stop T instead of a true T sound. A part, I probably would have chosen, if I wanted the word part to stand out, I would have put the true T in there. Part of the people. But she chose to say a part of the people. She made it really short. Okay. If you wanted to do the link here, it would have been a flap, a part of the people, a part of, dove, part of, but she doesn't link it. All right. So right away, she can't make it the flap, right? Because there's no link. So she only has the other 2 options of a true T or a stop T. And she chose a stop T, a part of the people. Again, speaker's choice there, and she chose that. Then we have right here, and I apologize that this text is kind of broken. It broke the line a little bit, but we have another T link, but this time, and it's also the stop T, but this time you're linking the word not to the TH in the word the. And so you do have the rule here where you're linking a final T to a consonant. So that's a glottal stop T, not the. Not the. Remember, your vocal cords come together to stop that airflow, and it's the absence of sound, the absence of air and the absence of sound. That's the T, and it's right here in the throat with the vocal cords. Not the, not the, not the. Now, if your tongue tip comes up, that's okay, but make sure that you're also stopping the air with your vocal cords. Not the, not the. All right. And moving on, we've got another vowel to vowel link here. Okay, so the word the is pronounced as the in this circumstance because you're linking, it comes before a word that begins with a vowel. So typically, that's when the is pronounced the, e, with the E sound. And that's what she does here. The imagining. So she's using a quick little y sound to link the final E sound to the beginning of imagining. The imagining, okay? So to practice that link, just make sure that your vocal cords stay on as you link those two words together. You can put your hand here on the throat to feel that vibration to make sure that you are linking that. And we have another vowel to vowel link right below that. The idea. The idea. Again, it's the same type of link. The linking to a vowel, I. So you use a small y sound because it's a front vowel. The idea. All right, keep the vocal cords on. And one more link I want to point out between the words that and make. But now that you see you have a final T linking to a consonant, it probably seems to make sense to you that it should be a stop T. And that's in fact what she does here. Does that make sense? Does that make that make sense? Now for you, it could be that you're dropping that T. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Does that make? Get that T sound in there. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? That. Get your vocal cords to close, and that signals the T sound. All right, so listen back for all of those links.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to be a part of the people that make meaning, not the thing that's made. I want to do the imagining. I don't want to be the idea. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. I want to be a part of the people that make meaning, not the thing that's made. I want to do the imagining. I don't want to be the idea. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. I want to be a part of the people that make meaning, not the thing that's made. I want to do the imagining. I don't want to be the idea. Does that make sense?
All right, now let's discuss some reductions that I hear, and we'll start with the reduction of want to, which she pronounces as wanna. Let's see if I can highlight both. Oh, that's okay. I got the word be in there. That's fine. So she says wanna for want to. That's an informal contraction, and it's quite common in spoken English. It's not as common in written English. So you will typically see the words want and to spelled out, like they are here, but a native speaker might read that as wanna. Now, that's very similar to going to, usually pronounced as gonna, have to, could have, coulda, shoulda, woulda. It's these informal contractions that happen quite often in spoken English, but not so often in written English. I would never spell want to as wanna, W-A-N-N-A, unless I'm like texting a friend or something like that. And even then, I just don't prefer it, but I do it on occasion. But I would read it as wanna lots of times in conversations. In formal speech, maybe not as much. Or if I want to be very clear or very articulate or be very deliberate about my speech, then I would say want to, probably is what I would do. But when I'm just talking conversationally, wanna. That's fine. So she does that 3 times. Want to is wanna. Want to is wanna. And here she has the phrase, I don't want to, which she pronounces as I don't wanna. Okay, so let's talk about this final T in don't. What happened to it? I don't wanna. And actually, it's the final NT. She doesn't really pronounce it. She doesn't say don't. So the NT is gone. Now, this can happen with the word don't. With these NT contractions, sometimes that final T is dropped, okay? And here she's dropped the N as well. I don't wanna. That's how much she reduces this phrase. That can happen in informal speech, in fast speech. It's not super common, super common to do. It depends on who you're talking to, right? And how fast you're talking. But in conversation, sure, I don't want to do that. I don't want to. That's how much these words can reduce. And it's simply because they are function words. And then on top of that, some of them are contractions, and the NT contractions, they're common in spoken English, and they're typically unstressed and just reduced. So that's what happens in this phrase. Don't wanna. That's how she pronounces it here. Let's look at 1 or 2 more reductions that she uses. Here, this one's very common. This little word a gets reduced to So that's one that you're probably already using. Keep using it because it's super common. Now, if you find yourself saying a every time, now it's very unlikely that the word a is going to be stressed. If it is stressed, I want to be a part of the people. A part. You're going to hear the intonation go up and the stress go up on purpose. But typically, this little word a is really low in pitch, very much reduced and fast. The word the and the word here, the. So I hear her kind of pronounce these a little slightly differently. Here, I do hear her reduce this kind of stress sound to a more schwa, a very fast vowel. But here, I almost don't hear a vowel at all. The thing, it's almost just the TH sound, kind of attached to the beginning of the word thing. The thing, the thing. Maybe there's a little teeny schwa sound there, maybe not. But this word, the, is often just reduced to the TH sound or just a really fast schwa. Okay, so when you're imitating speakers and you're trying to get the rhythm, look for these easy places to reduce your speech. That's when you're going to better match rhythm. Look for the word a. Are you saying a, but that speaker says Look for the word to. Are you saying to, but the speaker says ta? Or the word the. Are you making sure that you say the when the speaker is really saying the? That will make a huge difference in your rhythm. And one last thing to point out before I play this for you so you can listen to everything, just some vocabulary here. The phrase make sense. Now, you might already know what that means, but she's asking, do you understand me? Do you understand? When something makes sense, that means, it made sense, meaning I understood that. But if it doesn't make sense, that means you don't understand. So this is a really common phrase in English when you're checking for understanding. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Very, very common. But I have worked with many clients who didn't know what that phrase meant, and I was using it left and right. Does that make sense? And they were like, yeah, and didn't tell me that they didn't even understand that, right? So that's what that means. Does that make sense? She's asking the creator, do you understand me? And do you think it's a good idea? She's checking for the creator's opinion on this. All right, so I know we covered a lot with this sentence. It's a great sentence. You've got lots of fun intonation with the breathiness. You've got the word people that gave it away that she's not American. You've got some linking going on. You've got some fun reductions, some informal contractions. So have another listen here.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to be a part of the people that make meaning, not the thing that's made. I want to do the imagining. I don't want to be the idea. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. I want to be a part of the people that make meaning, not the thing that's made. I want to do the imagining. I don't want to be the idea. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. I want to be a part of the people that make meaning, not the thing that's made. I want to do the imagining. I don't want to be the idea. Does that make sense?
Here's sentence number 9.
I always knew that Barbie would surprise me, but I never expected this.
All right, now on to the next sentence. So here is the response from the creator. And I like this sentence a lot because she looks genuinely surprised. And I like how she ends. I like her intonation here. I like how she ends this intonation. So let's talk about that. So she begins kind of with stepping down with her intonation. I always knew that Barbie, up on Barbie, right? Because she's choosing to stress that word. Barbie would surprise me, and here's where she gets fun, but I never expected this. So this kind of goes along with her intonation that she's used in previous sentences where she kind of is liberal with her ups and downs, and I think that's just her style. That's her character. But I actually do like when she's like, I never expected this. And so she's kind of going up there, and it adds a lot of drama to it, and it makes her likable. I don't know why. So I like her intonation here, and she's trying to convey surprise, and which I think she is successful at conveying. So listen to her intonation here and see if you like it as much as I do.
I always knew that Barbie would surprise me, but I never expected this. I always knew that Barbie would surprise me, but I never expected this. I always knew that Barbie would surprise me, but I never expected this.
Okay, now let's look at her linking. And we'll just start here at the beginning where she starts with a vowel to vowel link. Now she's using that little y sound because she's linking the front vowel I to another vowel, I always. Again, feel the vibration of the vocal cords. I always. All right, that's how you do that link. Now here we have in green, what should be very familiar to all of you at this point. We have a stop T link. And why is this a stop T? Because you have a final T linking to a consonant, the B in Barbie. And that typically becomes, when that happens, that final T is typically pronounced here in the throat, that Barbie, with a stop T. So again, feel the vocal cords close, feel that abrupt ending to that T sound. You don't just stop talking, the Barbie. Nope, that Barbie. And if you're doing this glottal T or this stop T correctly, you can't breathe at the same time. And there's no sound, right? It's that gap, the absence of sound. That's the T in English. That Barbie. Now, I want to point out this here, and you're going to see this later on in other slides. I've underlined this final D sound, and it has this little like cap, like a little carrot on the side of it. That, and I have the word unreleased underneath it. So this is a link. So she's using an unreleased D in the word would as she links to the word surprise. Okay, so this is common when a word ends in a D sound and you're linking it to a consonant. And in fact, this is true for all stop consonants like the P, the B, T, D, K, and G. Those are your 6 stop consonants in English that when you link a stop consonant to another consonant, they become unreleased, usually. Now, for the T sound, it changes to a glottal stop T, typically, that Barbie. But it's still, if you think about it, it's not a released T. It's still unreleased. It's not that t. You don't hear that that puff of air, okay? So it still is unreleased, but it's just made here in the throat. For the other stop consonants, what that means, like for the D consonant here in the word would, is that your tongue tip comes up as if you're going to make a normal D, would, but then you stop. You don't say would, da. There's no release of the tongue. That's what that means by unreleased. So you say the first part of the D, and that's it. Now, this is really challenging for most people. When I try to teach people this unreleased D sound, maybe 3 things are happening. They might be actually just dropping the D altogether. Barbie was surprise me. That D's dropped. Or they're substituting a glottal stop instead. What surprised me? Or their tongue tip is coming up for the D, but they drop the voicing. Would surprise me. So I still hear a stop T. That's what my ears hear is a T sound because they're stopping their voicing. And it sounds like that's what's happening with a glottal stop T. Okay, so to make this unreleased D sound, think about the D as like just your normal D and stretch it out, okay? So let's just make the D sound in would. Notice when my tongue tip comes up and makes contact with the alveolar ridge, my vocal cords are still vibrating. That's the first half of the D. Would. I can feel vibration where my tongue tip is touching on the roof of my mouth. Would. That's the unreleased D, okay? So now what usually happens when I cue people to, they make the D, they're able to do it, hold out that part where the tongue tip is up and keep the vocal cords on and keep the voice moving forward. Now, you can only do this unreleased D for a couple of seconds because you have airflow that's coming, but you have your tongue tip up and it's blocking the airflow. So your airflow is building up behind that point. So eventually you're going to run out of room, right, from the vocal cords to where that tongue is, and you're going to need to release that D or breathe or something. So you can only do this unreleased D for 2 seconds. Would, and then there's too much air and you have to stop. If you're practicing this and you feel like you can make this unreleased D for a long time, would, you've just made an N consonant instead. And the reason why you can make the N consonant longer than the unreleased D is because when you make an N, that soft palate lowers and the air is coming out the nose. So now the air can come out naturally. There's no stop to it. With the D consonant, on the other hand, the soft palate is closed. So the airflow cannot go up into the nose. It just has to go out the mouth, but your tongue is blocking it. Okay, so again, here's the unreleased D. Would, 1 second, right? And then I have so much air that wants to come out my mouth that I have to stop and let it exit my mouth. Now, if I switch to an N, I've lowered the soft palate, which opens up the portal into my nose, and now airflow is coming out the nose. So be careful. It's not an N consonant. Would surprise me. Would surprise me. Would surprise me. Would surprise me. You still want a little bit of voicing when your tongue tip comes up to make the first part of the D. If you're not able to feel that voicing, or you know for a fact that you're dropping it, I hear a T. Would surprise me. What? That's a stop T, right? That's a glottal stop. So I hear a T sound instead. That's typically what's happening for non-native speakers here. Okay, so this is an unreleased D. It is hard to pronounce. I have other videos on my channel that can help you with this, but she does it twice here. Would surprise me, and expected this, expected this, expected this. She does not say expected this, expected this. She's using an unreleased D to complete that link. So it's challenging. If you're struggling with this, I don't anticipate you to be able to do it right now perfectly, but work on it, okay? You'll get it. We've got 2 more links to discuss before I play this again for you. Here we have a final T turning into a flap. Why is this a flap? Because you have a T between vowels. And the second vowel is unstressed, and it's pronounced as but I. Die. That's your link there. And then we have a link between never expected. You have a final sound, a final R, linking to a vowel. Just allow that to continue on to the beginning of the next word. Never expected. Keep your vocal cords on. Never expected. All right, so now listen back to all of these links.
I always knew that Barbie would surprise me, but I never expected this. I always knew that Barbie would surprise me, but I never expected this. I always knew that Barbie would surprise me, but I never expected this.
Okay, now one more thing to point out is just one reduction that I wanted to point out for you here. And really, this is just how this word is typically pronounced, but the word surprised. Now, that first syllable is spelled S-U-R. Now, you might hear some people say sir, surprise, sir. You will not hear sewer, even though it looks like that. That U-R is typically going to be or actually more commonly, it's going to be the schwa, sa. So here's an example of when you have this unstressed syllable in surprise, surprise, that the has been dropped and reduced even more to have the R drop out completely to just be a schwa sound. Surprise. Again, you might hear some native speakers pronounce this as sir. surprise, sir, sir, sir. But it's going to be one of those two. Never sewer. Okay, that's how it's spelled, but definitely not how it's pronounced. And the speaker here actually reduces it down to just the schwa sound, which is probably how I pronounce it, 95% of the time. Surprise, surprise. All right, so now listen to this full sentence again.
I always knew that Barbie would surprise me, but I never expected this. I always knew that Barbie would surprise me, but I never expected this. I always knew that Barbie would surprise me, but I never expected this.
Here's sentence number 10.
Do you give me permission to become human?
Now on to our next sentence, and this is spoken by Barbie. And she uses pretty common intonation here, nothing too exciting. She kind of starts kind of low on the word do, and then do you give me permission to become human? So it's kind of two questions in one, and permission. So she ends with upward intonation on the word permission, and then again on the word human, because these are yes/no questions, and it's typical to have upward intonation when you're asking a yes/no question. That means the answer is either yes or no. Do you give me permission? Yes or no? To become human? So it's kind of like she broke this one question into two thoughts. She has a little pause right in the middle there. So maybe she's kind of clarifying, do you give me permission? And then to become human? Just in case the creator doesn't know or didn't know what she was asking for permission to do, right? But either way, these are both yes/no questions or one big yes/no question, and she has upward intonation. So listen back to that.
Do you give me permission to become human? Do you give me permission to become human? Do you give me permission to become human?
Okay, so now in terms of linking, I didn't hear anything that was really interesting to point out, so we'll go on to reductions. So here she says the two words do and you. Now, we know that this actress, Margot Robbie, is Australian. She's not from New York like the other actress is from. So she doesn't say do ya, okay? That's what the other actress was saying, with the word ya. She was reducing that oo vowel to the schwa. But here, Margot Robbie, the actress, she's using the oo vowel in both of these words, but she says it very quickly. Do you, do you, do you, do you. It's not do you. So I don't think she's really doing full lip rounding here because both of these words are reduced. She says them quickly, but I still hear the oo vowel, just not the full lip-rounded oo that you see when this oo vowel is stressed. These are unstressed, so they're very much reduced and fast. Now, the same thing happens here in this word ta. So she is taking this oo vowel in to and reducing it to the schwa ta, to become human. Ta. So that is very common in spoken English. Again, this is one of the word to is one of these words, to, that if you're not reducing it, that you should be reducing. It reduces probably, 70% of the time. I don't know. Sometimes it is too. It depends on the speaker and the context. But pay attention to this little reduction, because if you're not reducing it, then you're losing an opportunity to have really good rhythm in your speech and an easy way to reduce your speech and to sound more native-like. All right, so listen back to this sentence for these reductions.
Do you give me permission to become human? Do you give me permission to become human? Do you give me permission to become human?
Here's sentence number 11.
You don't need my permission.
But you're the creator. Don't you control me?
Now on to the next sentence or the next sentences. We have two speakers, both of the speakers here represented on this slide. First, we have the creator who speaks, and then we have Barbie. So let's look at their intonation. And so again, I like the intonation that the creator uses here at the beginning. You don't need my permission. It's kind of a really soft type of intonation that a parent, a mother, might use when correcting her child, her daughter, in a gentle way. It's very gentle. You don't need my permission. And, if she had said it like, you don't need my permission. Okay, that is kind of abrasive, even though, it's technically just a declarative sentence. It's a sentence, right? So it would end with downward intonation. But she uses this particular type of intonation to make it more gentle because she's correcting the Barbie here. She's correcting Barbie. And, she wants to be sweet about it and kind and gentle with her correction. She doesn't want to hurt Barbie's feelings. You don't need my permission, and she's almost like, doesn't want to scare little Barbie, right? Because Barbie's like, sees her as someone who's in authority. She's the creator, and the creator must have all the authority, right? But really, Barbie's the one that can make the decision for herself, and that's what the creator wants her to know. So she's being very gentle here. You don't need my permission. I like that. I think that's a sweet way of making Barbie feel okay, feeling good. Then Barbie answers, she's like, but you're the creator, you. So we've seen the actress do this where there's been like the end of one thought group, and she's just kind of continued right through that thought group to the next one. But you're the creator, you. Okay, she could have stopped. I mean, you see the text, there's a period there. She could have said, but you're the creator. You don't control me. She could have paused at the end of creator, but she didn't. She wanted to continue through. And that's something that this actress does quite a bit in this scene. She just kind of links these ideas in different ways. That's okay. Speaker's choice. It works. And if you want to try to master that style, it's a fun way of adding more variety to your speech and to make your speech just not so formulaic, but it still falls within, acceptable limits, right? So that's what she's doing here. And then she kind of ends with upward on you because she's like ... There's still more to say. Don't you control me? And then she's crying a little bit here. She's a little bit scared. She's a little bit shocked. And so she's kind of asking this question. And again, this is a yes/no question. Don't you control me? The answer to that is either yes or no. So typically you're going to have upward intonation there, which she uses here, which is perfectly normal, perfectly fine. So pay attention to the intonation that we just described.
You don't need my permission.
But you're the creator, don't you control me?
You don't need my permission.
But you're the creator, don't you control me?
You don't need my permission.
But you're the creator, don't you control me?
Okay, now let's move on to linking. So we've got some stop T's here, and we've got an unreleased D that I want to point out as well, and a flap. So here we have don't need. Here I hear she uses a very quick stop T there. Don't need. Again, we have a final T linking to a consonant, so it turns into a stop T here with the throat. Okay, don't need. Don't need. Don't need. Now, your tongue tip might come up because the next sound is an N consonant, which is an alveolar sound. The tongue tip does come up to the alveolar ridge to pronounce the N. So don't need. You might have your tongue come up as you're pronouncing this stop T. But the important thing is it's stopping in your throat with your vocal cords. All right. And then we have another pesky little unreleased D consonant here. I know this is challenging. Need. Remember, this is not an N. It's not need. It's need. You don't need my, need my, not need my. There's no release there. Need my, unreleased D. Super challenging to pronounce, but tongue tip comes up and you're just pronouncing the first part of the D. Need before you would drop it, right? Need. It's this little teeny tiny sound. That's it. All right. Now we have another stop T in but your. Okay. There's another way to link this. You could use a CH sound, but you're the creator. She doesn't choose that here. She chooses to use a stop T, which is fine. It's still part of the rules. A final T linking to a consonant, the y in your. So she uses a stop T there. But you're. And then we have a flap in the word creator. Okay, so I just want to point out again, here we have a T between syllables that's linking. So again, linking happens within words, right? And it's very common when you have a T sound between vowels that the T will become a flap. Creator. Not creator. It's not a T, it's a flap. A fast D sound. Creator. And one more link. Don't you. So again, we have another stop T situation, a T sound linking to the y in you. And again, she could have done don't you. That's another way to link this with the CH sound, but she doesn't use that here. She uses the stop T. Don't you, don't you. So just feel your vocal cords come together. Feel that closure. Don't you. And it's that gap, right? That's your T sound. Don't you. All right. So now listen back for these particular links.
You don't need my permission.
But you're the creator. Don't you control me?
You don't need my permission.
But you're the creator. Don't you control me?
You don't need my permission.
But you're the creator. Don't you control me?
And one more thing on this slide, the reduction of the contraction your. So I've talked about this contraction in a previous slide, but here it's not you are. So number one, it's not the two full words. You don't pronounce this as you are. A lot of people want to do that with these contractions, but you are the creator. But you are. So it's not that. So it's a contraction. So don't try to substitute the full words that the contraction is there for. Your is how it would be pronounced if it was stressed, your, but it's not stressed here, and it reduces to So the or vowel, which is typically how it's pronounced when stressed, or that full R-colored vowel, that's too long, and that's not how she pronounces it here. She changes it from your to your. Just the vowel, your. Now that's the same type of reduction that happens to the word y-o-u-r. Your, the pronoun, your. Okay? But it's typically reduced to your. So I can do this reduction all day, but people will still see the word your spelled like that, and they'll want to either say you are, or you were, or your. But if you listen to the pronunciation, I guarantee you 95% of the time, it's going to be unstressed and reduced to your. A very fast vowel. All right, so now listen to this sentence again and listen for the linking and listen for that reduction in particular.
You don't need my permission.
But you're the creator. Don't you control me?
You don't need my permission.
But you're the creator. Don't you control me?
You don't need my permission.
But you're the creator. Don't you control me?
Here's sentence number 12.
I can't control you any more than I could control my own daughter. I named you after her, Barbara.
Okay, let's continue now with sentence number 12. And this is spoken by the creator. And we're going to start, as usual, with her intonation. So take a look at the light blue line on the screen, and you'll see the intonation that I heard her use in this sentence. And I like, again, her intonation here, especially there at the end. She uses some distinct intonation on the final word of this thought group or this phrase, which I really liked. So she starts kind of high on I, and then she goes down, I can't control you any more than I could control my own daughter. So again, she has this da-da-da. This kind of up and down kind of waviness to her intonation. And it's just something unique to that character. So I kind of like it here. I don't think she hasn't done it too much. I kind of like what she's done here. And then she continues on, I named you after her, Barbara. I like how she emphasized the word Barbara and also the word right before it, the word her. You'll notice the word her has kind of an up intonation and then a down intonation. And then Barbara also has an up, down, up, down. That just adds a little bit more vocal variety to this, and it really highlights that the name Barbara is the special word here. This is the key word that she wants Barbie to pay attention to. So of course, Barbie comes from, it's a nickname for the name Barbara. So Barbie, Barbara. So I like how she kind of tied these two ideas together, that she can't control Barbie, just like she can't control her own daughter. And then, oh, by the way, she named Barbie after her own daughter, which is, that's probably true. I bet you that is really why Barbie has the name Barbie. It's kind of a sweet little tidbit of information there. But I like her intonation here. So let me play this back for you so you can listen to it as well.
I can't control you any more than I could control my own daughter. I named you after her, Barbara. I can't control you any more than I could control my own daughter. I named you after her, Barbara. I can't control you any more than I could control my own daughter. I named you after her, Barbara.
Now let's move on to her linking. And I'll just kind of go in order here. So you're going to see right away something very familiar, right? You've got an NT contraction with the word can't, and that final T has been crossed out and there's a vertical line. So that means she used a glottal stop T there. And in fact, I have the IPA symbol for a glottal stop, which of course looks like a question mark without that little dot on the bottom. That's the glottal stop. So she's made this NT contraction, this T sound in her throat. I can't control you. Now that's a really, really common way that these NT contractions can't, don't, won't, didn't. You're gonna probably rarely hear this released T at the end. It's much more likely that when you're linking these NT contractions to a word that begins with a consonant, that this final T sound is going to be a stop T. I can't control you. Can't control you. Can't control you. And even the N sound in can't, it's kind of not really there. It's like that the A vowel becomes nasalized. I can hear nasalization on the vowel in the word can't, but my tongue tip doesn't come up to make the N. I can't. It's almost like the N gets absorbed into that vowel. The vowel gets nasalized, and that kind of represents where the N is. I can't control you. I can't. I feel like maybe the back of my tongue or something is touching there, but it's not a true N. I can't. I'm not bringing my tongue tip up there. Can't. See if you can imitate that without me really giving you, step-by-step instructions on how I'm actually pronouncing that word. But that's really how native speakers are pronouncing it. There's not really an N there. although the vowel does get nasalized, so you hear that there's an N sound. Now, it's not like the word cat. So that would be if there was no nasal at all, C-A-T, cat. So if I pronounce can't and cat with a stop T, you should still hear a difference, okay? So here's C-A-N apostrophe T, pronounced in the way that I'm describing, where there's the N is kind of absorbed into the vowel and the vowel gets nasalized and you have a stop T. And then I'll show you the pronunciation of the word cat, C-A-T. There's no nasal there, but I'll pronounce it with a stop T. So you can hear, they should sound different. One's going to have a nasal sound and one won't. Can't. Cat. Can't. Cat. Can't. Cat. I can't control you. My cat is orange. My cat is big. I don't know. So hopefully you heard there's differences there. So try out this different way of pronouncing the word can't. It's going to feel strange, but if it sounds right and it's got that nasally vowel plus that stop T at the end, you've got it. All right, let's keep going. So we have another final N to vowel link here that I wanted to point out. So this is a consonant to vowel link with the N consonant, and it's a pretty easy link to complete, but I wanted to spell it out for you so you could actually see, oh, this is what's happening. So then I, this is really what it sounds like. Then I. So how to do this link is you allow that final N consonant to just continue over to the beginning of the next word I. Okay, so this is a consonant to vowel link. Then I. So it's not hard to do, it's just hard to remember to do it, especially if you're used to breaking that link. Then I. Then I. Keep your vocal cords turned on and allow that N sound to just continue over to the next word, which is the vowel I, the word I. Now we have this pesky little unreleased T. So this happens in this link, right? A link between a final D to a consonant, the K sound in the word control. This is tricky, okay? So let me demonstrate what this sounds like. Could control. Could control. Could. Again, that unreleased D is the first half of the D consonant, where the tongue tip comes up to the alveolar ridge and the vocal cords continue to vibrate. It's challenging. I mean, in my experience, when I identify this sound with non-native speakers, 10% of them are like, oh, I can do that. Really, the vast majority struggle with pronouncing a good unreleased D. So you'll hear her any more than I could control, could control. It's a little teeny bit of vibration from the throat and also where the tongue tip is touching the alveolar ridge. That's the D, good control. It's not could control, could control. She doesn't release her tongue. And it's also not control. It's not a stop. It's not a glottal stop. Control. Could keep your voice on. It's tricky. So take a look at the other videos on my YouTube channel and also my website where I talk about linking with the unreleased D consonant. Okay, and you'll get it eventually. It's hard. But here's an easier link, right? Here is a vowel to vowel link. We have I in my linking to the O in own. So we have a front vowel linking to a vowel, and we're using that y consonant. My own, my own. Keep your voice turned on. My own, my own. Sounds like one word, right? That's exactly what vowel to vowel linking sounds like. Now, let's see, we have another right here, another vowel to vowel link, but this one is different. This one is you after. So this is the back oo vowel linking to the a and after. So we're using a different sound. You after. Vocal cords still stay on. You after. You after. Think about this as one word. Don't break it. Don't say you after. You after. All right, so listen back to the linking and pay attention to all the links I just described.
I can't control you any more than I could control my own daughter. I named you after her, Barbara. I can't control you any more than I could control my own daughter. I named you after her, Barbara. I can't control you any more than I could control my own daughter. I named you after her, Barbara.
All right, and finally, we have two words here that I want to point out for their particular pronunciations. The first word is the word daughter. Now, here we have one thing to point out is there's a flap. This T in daughter becomes the flap. So that's why it's, you see the flap symbol right underneath that. So think about that as a fast D sound. Daughter, der. Not daughter, 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 daughter. It's like a D sound. So that occurs in this word. But you have this weird spelling, A-U-G-H. And you see I use this symbol, it's like a backwards C letter. So, but then there's an asterisk next to it. And you look down here and I have another symbol that says ah is more common. So again, the actress who plays this character, Rhea Perlman, she's from New York. And in New York, there's a large majority of speakers who use this vowel, this backward C vowel in a word like daughter. Now, I'm from California, and I don't use that vowel. I use the one that's here at the bottom. This is ah like in father. This one is more common. So I've talked about this in previous videos, but this backward C vowel has more lip rounding. Aw. Okay, that's a more extreme version of that vowel. Daughter. Daughter, daughter. And this actress, who's from New York, uses this vowel in this word, daughter. It's maybe not as daw as I'm pronouncing it there. Again, I don't pronounce it that way. I pronounce it with the ah as in father vowel that has no lip rounding. Ah, daughter. And in fact, in American English, these are two separate vowels. Daughter, daughter. Okay, I understand both of them as daughter, but when someone says daughter with more rounded lips, I think, you're from New York, or you're from Connecticut, or you're from the East Coast, the northeast coast of the United States, or something like that. Daughter. And so I wanted to point that out that yes, this speaker does use this vowel, but in the vast majority of the United States and in all of the western part of the United States, this ah vowel, like in the word father, is much more common and has replaced this backward C vowel in lots of words. The tricky thing is the spelling. So daughter is A-U-G-H. That spelling, it looks like there should be like a U sound in there. It looks like you should be rounding your lips, dwa, wah, something like that. But just relax the lips, da, daughter, 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 daughter. That's a much more common pronunciation. And then the last word I want to point out is the word Barbara. So here we have a fun little reduction of that final syllable. The first syllable is bar, B-A-R, so it's pronounced just like it's spelled. But that second syllable, it looks like bara. It looks like it should be actually two syllables. Barbara, Barbara. But that's not how this name is usually pronounced. It's usually pronounced as bar-bra, bruh. That final two syllables, it has something happened to it called vowel syncope. I've talked about that in a previous video. But where an unstressed syllable, usually the unstressed vowel, dropped out of the pronunciation at some point in time, although the spelling remains the same. Okay, this is the same thing that's happening to a word like chocolate or a word like business, where there's a letter O in chocolate, but native speakers of American English don't pronounce it. There's an I, a letter I in the middle of the word business, but it's not pronounced. So at some point in time, in pronunciation, these unstressed vowels have been dropped from the pronunciation, but the spelling was maintained. And Barbara is one of those words, one of those names. Most people will pronounce their name, if they're Barbara, as Barbara, not Barbara, even though that's how it's spelled. All right, so now listen back to this sentence so you can listen to all of the pronunciation features I just discussed.
I can't control you any more than I could control my own daughter. I named you after her, Barbara. I can't control you any more than I could control my own daughter. I named you after her, Barbara. I can't control you any more than I could control my own daughter. I named you after her, Barbara.
Here's sentence number 13.
And I always hoped for you like I hoped for her. We mothers stand still so our daughters can look back to see how far they've come.
Okay, guys, we're almost done here. We have this long sentence again to talk about. And this sentence is spoken by the creator. And it's a couple of sentences, actually. But she uses some fun intonation again. She kind of has this wavy up and down intonation that's just unique to her character. I think she's trying to, again, be more gentle with Barbie and kind of using this up and down, kind of a lighter, more gentle tone to her voice because she feels like she's Barbie's mother. Barbie is one of her daughters, and she wants to make her feel happy, make her feel good, guide her. She cares about Barbie, and Barbie's really vulnerable in this scene. She's crying. She's coming to the realization that she wants to be human, and she's able to do it on her own, and she can make her own decisions. So it's like a pivotal emotional moment. So I think that's why this character is kind of using this up and down, and it's a little breathy kind of intonation there. So that's why you see lots of ups and downs if you look at this light blue line. And I always hoped for you like I hoped for her. She's that's maybe unusual intonation. It's maybe a little dramatic, but it works for this scene and it works for this character. And then we mothers stand still so our daughters can look back to see how far they've come. So, if this were a normal conversation, this type of intonation pattern, now she's using maybe too many kind of to where it might be distracting. Okay. But here it works because this is the scene, and that's kind of what she's chosen to do. So it's okay. If I were acting out this scene, I probably wouldn't have chosen this particular intonation pattern here, but it does convey a sort of like gentleness, possibly. But it's not as natural as maybe other scenes or other sentences where she's kind of used up and down. Here she's doing it maybe a little too much for my taste. But anyway, that's what she's doing. So let me play this back for you so you can listen for this kind of up and down and see if you can hear the words that she's kind of stressing the most, the words that maybe have the highest peak and words that she's really holding out in duration. Where can you hear her stress?
And I always hoped for you like I hoped for her. We mothers stand still so our daughters can look back to see how far they've come. And I always hoped for you like I hoped for her. We mothers stand still so our daughters can look back to see how far they've come. And I always hoped for you like I hoped for her. We mothers stand still so our daughters can look back to see how far they've come.
All right, now let's look at the linking. We've got a lot of things to talk about on this slide, actually. So starting with this link here, I'll go a little faster with this slide so I'm not spending 25 minutes here. We have a vowel-to-vowel link, I always, and you're going to use that little y sound because you're linking the front I vowel to another vowel. I always. Keep your vocal cords turned on. I always. Now, between always and hoped, we've got something interesting happening to that final Z consonant of always. We have assimilation of voicing happening here. So she's linking a final Z to an initial H consonant, and the H is a voiceless consonant, so there's no voicing. So what happens there, lots of times with a final Z consonant, is it drops its voicing to match the next consonant that it's linking to. I always hoped. There's a little bit of voicing at the beginning, maybe the first 25% of this Z ending, but then the last 75% certainly do sound like an S consonant. The voicing has dropped out so that it can link more easily to the word hoped. I always hoped. I always hoped. So you're still going to maintain that longer vowel, always, the A vowel that comes before the Z consonant, right? That's still the rule, generally speaking, that the vowels before voiced consonants are longer. So don't make the vowel shorter because you're devoicing that Z. Then someone will hear an S. They're going to hear the wrong word. So keep the vowel long, but just drop some of that voicing, but still maintain that longer vowel. So that will trick your listeners into hearing that the word always, it has a longer vowel sound than always, always, ways, 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 ways. That's a shorter vowel. That's an S ending, and that's the wrong word. Always. You just drop some of that Z voicing when you link it, okay? And then hoped for. Let me highlight that. There we go. So I'm pointing out here that this ED ending is a T consonant. So you hear her say that. I always hoped for, hoped for, hoped, 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 hoped for, hoped for. And she reduces for to fur, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But that link is, there's nothing special about that link, right? She's linking a final T to an F sound, hoped for. And you might think, oh, this could be the rule of three, right? It could be a P consonant, a T consonant, and an F consonant. Okay, you do have three consonants there. Could she have done the rule of three here and said, I always hope for you? She could have, right? She could have, but she didn't. So here it is where the rule of three is optional. Here she didn't apply the rule of three. She pronounced this ED ending as the T sound, like it normally is. Okay, so the rule of three doesn't happen all the time. She does this again in this hoped for, or hoped for, hoped. She has a PT cluster and then the F sound. So make sure that you are also pronouncing the PT cluster at the end of hoped, because she does. All right. Here we have a link between like I, those two words. So we have a consonant to vowel link where that final K sound in like resyllabifies. It moves over to the beginning of the next word I. So it's not like I, it's like I, like I, like I, like I. That's the link there. Again, here, mothers stand. So by now you should be more familiar with what this little circle means under a Z. That means we have a Z that has lost some or all of its voicing. And why? Because this final Z consonant sound, spelled with the letter S, but it makes a Z sound, mothers, z, z, is linking to a voiceless S consonant here, ST consonant cluster. But the first sound is an S. So a voiced Z is linking to a voiceless S. So it's probably going to drop all its voicing there. We mothers stand. Maybe a little bit of voicing at the beginning, but you're going to hear, this is very common for this kind of assimilation of voicing when you're linking, especially with the final Z consonant, and especially when a final Z links to an S, because they're made in the same place in the mouth. Z, s. So if they're going to assimilate, that voicing is going to drop out, and it's just going to be so easy to make, keep the mouth the same. Keep the voicing the same. That's what's going to happen here. but a little bit of voicing, but then it drops out, okay? We mothers stand. Mothers stand. I don't hear a ton of voicing on that final Z of mothers, okay? Now we have a rule of 3. So stand still. So we have an ND in stand and an ST in still. So in fact, she does drop that D. We mothers stand still. Stand still. Stand still. That's really common when you have words that end with an ND cluster and they link up to a word that begins with a consonant. Or you have an ND-Z cluster at the end of a word. That D sound often gets dropped, okay? And that happens here because of the rule of 3. We mothers stand still, stand still, stand still. There's no D sound there. Here in the word daughters, like I've mentioned before, you've got a flap there. So that's a link between daughters. So that T turns into a flap. And then one more link to point out, the words back to, okay? Back to. You have a final K sound in back, which is a stop consonant, linking to another consonant. So the rule here is that first consonant becomes unreleased. So we've already practiced that with a D becoming an unreleased D consonant and a T sound becoming a glottal stop. It's like an unreleased T, but made in the throat. Same thing happens to a K consonant. You keep the back of your tongue in contact with the alveolar ridge. Back to. Back to. That's how she pronounces this link. Now there could be a little bit of a release of the tongue. Back to. Back to. But it's not this fully released K, back to, okay? So she makes this completely unreleased, back to, back to, back to. Her tongue comes back for the K, then it stays there, and then she makes the T sound normally. All right, so we've got a lot of links for you to listen to. Let's play it back.
And I always hoped for you, like I hoped for her. We mothers stand still so our daughters can look back to see how far they've come. And I always hoped for you, like I hoped for her. We mothers stand still so our daughters can look back to see how far they've come. And I always hoped for you, like I hoped for her. We mothers stand still so our daughters can look back to see how far they've come.
Now, moving on to reductions. Here we have a couple of very, very common reductions. The word for. For and for. Okay, so this little function word often reduces to for. So it's not this or R-colored vowel. It's not the full R-colored vowel here. Or. You just make the R sound. For. That's the most common, one of the most common reductions in American English, followed by, or maybe this one's more common, this little word to. She pronounces it like ta. Again, she reduces the oo vowel into to the schwa sound ta. Very important. Get those reductions. Okay, it's not intuitive. You might not think, I can't even hear it. Pay attention to it so you can identify when native speakers are using these reductions and then copy them. So look for them, the words for and to. And I will point out this word can. This word is also often reduced, but here she doesn't really reduce it. She chooses to maintain that ah vowel. At least that's what I hear. She might say it a little faster, but I still hear the full ah vowel, so it's not a true reduction in that the vowel's not changing. Although this little word can often does change. It depends on the speaker. It can be can, or kun. It can change to the schwa, kun, or sometimes the vowel drops out completely. It reduces so much that there's no vowel at all, and it's just a K sound and an N sound. can. But here I hear her use the a vowel. It's just really fast, probably. All right, so let's play that back so you can hear those reductions and then the non-reduction of the word can.
And I always hoped for you, like I hoped for her. We mothers stand still so our daughters can look back to see how far they've come. And I always hoped for you, like I hoped for her. We mothers stand still so our daughters can look back to see how far they've come. And I always hoped for you, like I hoped for her. We mothers stand still so our daughters can look back to see how far they've come.
All right, now 2 more words I want to point out before we move on to the next slide. The word hour. So that's the first word I want you to pay attention to. Now, this is a pronoun, hour, and it's a function word, okay? So lots of times this word is also reduced, okay? But she does not reduce it. She pronounces it the full pronunciation, hour, hour. Just like the word hour, like what hour is it? You know, it's the first hour of the day or 1 hour. I'll be there in 1 hour. So that is the stressed form of this pronoun, hour. And that's how she chooses to pronounce it here. That's just what she wanted to do in order to add more emphasis or stress to that word. Now, lots of times you're going to hear it pronounced as R, 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 just like the word A-R-E, R, 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 instead of hour, hour, hour. Okay, so pay attention to that. It's tricky because here she doesn't reduce it, but lots of times it is reduced in the speech of native speakers. And I reduce hour to R all the time, unless I'm stressing the word. Then, of course, the full pronunciation gets put back in there. But so listen for that. And then the last word is this contraction, they've. And I just wanted to point this out. Lots of people, lots of non-native speakers, when they see a contraction, they actually want to pronounce both words. They have. But it's a contraction. So it's they've. It's 1 syllable. They've. Not they have. So first, you know, if you have that habit of reading contractions by putting both words back in there, that's incorrect. Read it like the contraction, okay? And then decide, does it get reduced or not? Here, she's not reducing it. They've is how it's pronounced. She's not changing any of the vowels there. But I wanted to point that out, okay? So it's they've, not they have. Okay, so listen back to this section.
And I always hoped for you, like I hoped for her. We mothers stand still so our daughters can look back to see how far they've come. And I always hoped for you, like I hoped for her. We mothers stand still so our daughters can look back to see how far they've come. And I always hoped for you, like I hoped for her. We mothers stand still so our daughters can look back to see how far they've come.
Here's sentence number 14.
So being human's not something I need to ask for or even want. It's something that I just discover I am.
Okay, now we get Barbie's response to that. So here's where she's coming to the full realization that she can just decide for herself if she wants to be human. She can just be it. She can just do it, which is great. She doesn't need anybody else to give her permission to live the life she wants. She can decide to do it at any time, right? That's a great lesson for everybody to learn. So let's look at her intonation here, and you'll see some along that blue line, you'll see there's those dots. That's a point in time where she drops her voice in completely and just kind of has a breathy whisper, okay? So nothing too exciting about her intonation, except those breathy moments I need to ask for, and she does that interesting thing. This actress does this a lot. She breaks her she does her thought groups in a very unique way. So a typical way to do this first sentence would be, maybe, so being human's not something I need to ask for or even want. You would pause, possibly if you wanted to, before the conjunction or. Okay, that would be more typical. But just like she's been doing, she's kind of blowing right through these natural breakpoints and extending into the next word. So she reads it like this. So being human's not something I need to ask for or even want. She pauses after or. Okay, so that's not typical. That's atypical intonation and pausing and thought groups, but that's what she has chosen to do. And you know what? It works because her intonation works with it. So that's a lesson to learn about phrasing, thought groups. There are guidelines like you would pause before a conjunction, not after, something like that. You would pause at the end of where there's a period or like punctuation, a question mark. You'd pause at the end of a sentence, not going through that and then pause after that first word of your next sentence, right? But if you have your intonation correct and it goes along with what you're trying to convey, it will work. It's only when your intonation doesn't match your pauses that's when it can be incorrect, and it will get in the way of someone understanding you. But here she pauses, but it works because she's got the good intonation. So something just to be aware of. Oh yeah, she's breaking a rule here. This is atypical, but it still sounds fine. And then, or even want, she kind of goes up on that because she's not sure, right? She's still kind of questioning that this idea, I don't really know. And that's in fact what upward intonation conveys. It can convey uncertainty. You're not quite sure. So you're asking a question every time. And that's why when you have chronic upward intonation at the end of thought groups, it's number one, it's distracting and it can be annoying to listen to. Right? Because you're constantly asking questions. Although that doesn't mean I don't do that. Of course, I have little upward things. It's just such a habit, but you don't have to do it, right? You can learn to control it better. And especially, use it during certain situations. You want to know when to use it, right? Not just that it's just how you speak. But here she's using it because she is uncertain. So that's what she's doing. She's has this rising intonation, or even want. It's something that I just discover I am. So she's got these upward ending intonation because, yeah, she's uncertain and she's asking these questions. She doesn't quite know the answer yet. So listen for that.
So being human's not something I need to ask for or even want. It's something that I just discover I am. So being human's not something I need to ask for or even want. It's something that I just discover I am. So being human's not something I need to ask for or even want. It's something that I just discover I am.
Now let's move on to her linking, and you'll see some very familiar symbols already. I hope they're familiar to you by this point. So the phrase not something, we have a final T linking to a consonant, so she uses a glottal stop T. Not something. Vocal cords only. Not something. Now we have need to. Again, we've got that pesky unreleased D consonant coming in there because you have a final D linking to a consonant, so it's unreleased. That's the rule typically. So need to. Tongue tip comes up. Need. Get a little bit of voicing there. It's not need to, need to, need to. That's a full glottal stop T, and I hear the word neat. Okay, so I hear a different word actually. Need to, need to. You have a long E vowel in need, and then the tongue tip comes up for the unreleased D, and you still have some vibration of the vocal cords, and you'll feel some secondary vibration where the tongue tip comes up to the alveolar ridge. Then let's see, we have a link here, that I, a different T link. Here the T turns into a flap because you have a T between vowels and it's unstressed. So changes to the flap. That I, not that I. That I. Think of a light D or a fast D sound. That I. Then she applies the rule of 3 to this very, very common word, just. Just discover. So again, many, many times that final T is dropped because you're linking, if you're linking just to a word that begins with a consonant, which is just very likely to happen, lots of times you've got those 3 consonants in a row. Here she's got S, T, and D. That middle consonant will drop out. That's the T sound, and it sounds just like just. Just discover. Just discover. There's no T sound there. Then she links discover I, discover I. So that's kind of what she's doing here. I have it spelled out phonetically what it sounds like. She's allowing that final sound to just bleed into the next word I. That's a consonant to vowel link. Discover I. Discover I. Don't tap that R. Don't break the vocal cord vibration. Keep that R going. Discover I. It's almost like you're saying the word rye. Discover I. Now, I want to point out here, she did not link I am. She could have. That could have been a very easy vowel to vowel link. I am. But I hear her break that link, discover I am. She does a quick little glottal stop there. Speaker's choice. Okay, she decided not to link that, and that's okay. Vowel to vowel links are a little bit less mandatory, right? It's kind of up to the speaker. They do happen quite a bit. But here she decided not to, probably because she wanted to stress the word am. You know, that adds a little bit of more emphasis to it. It makes that word stand out because now there's a little glottal stop right before it, so it stands out a little bit more. So that's probably why she did that. Okay, so you have a lot of links here to pay attention to. Listen back and see if you can hear all of them.
So being human's not something I need to ask for or even want. I can just... It's something that I just discover I am. So being human's not something I need to ask for or even want. I can just... It's something that I just discover I am. So being human's not something I need to ask for or even want. I can just... It's something that I just discover I am.
Next, let's talk about some reductions that I hear, and I just hear a couple that I want to point out. This little word to, okay? She reduces the oo to the schwa vowel, t. Super common reduction happens here. Need to, t. Now, if that is unnatural for you to do, I say do it. I say learn how to do it because this little word to gets reduced all the time. So if you are struggling with achieving the right rhythm and stress patterns of American English, this is one way to do it. Get that reduction. And she does also reduce the word can to kun. So she reduces that a vowel to the schwa vowel, a super, super common reduction as well. So I can, not can. She reduces that vowel to the schwa sound. Now, let me also point out a couple of places where she didn't do any type of reduction. Now, I know I said this word for is commonly reduced, and it is, but she does not reduce it here. I heard her use a full or sound, and also the conjunction or is also often reduced to just just the R sound, but I don't hear that here. So I hear her say for or, for or, for or. She uses this or R-colored vowel, which is the full pronunciation. Okay, so speaker's choice, she could have said fur. I need to ask for, or even want. Probably for would have maintained, if I were reading this, the or sound, but the word or, I probably would have reduced it. It's just common for me to reduce that, but she chose not to. Okay, so we're imitating here, so imitate what you hear. And then one last thing to point out, this word just. So I hear kind of an unreleased T at the end. She's not linking it to anything because she kind of stops right there. So, but I wasn't quite sure. Unreleased, tongue tip up, just. It's not just, but I think I hear a T or something like a T, just. That kind of crisp, abrupt ending, as if she is stopping the airflow somewhere, as if it's a T. I don't hear just, like just this S sound. So something is there. I think she's bringing her tongue tip up and just kind of stopping the airflow, just maybe even closing off her vocal cords, but she's not releasing that tongue. So that's why there's question marks there. Is it unreleased? Is her tongue tip up? I'm not quite sure, but it sounds like it. It sounds like just, she's got this abrupt ending to it. All right, so now listen back and see if you can identify those reductions, those non-reductions, and then also her pronunciation of the word just.
So being human's not something I need to ask for or even want. I can just, it's something that I just discover I am. So being human's not something I need to ask for or even want. I can just, it's something that I just discover I am. So being human's not something I need to ask for or even want. I can just, it's something that I just discover I am.
Here's sentence number 15.
I can't in good conscience let you take this leap without you knowing what it means. Take my hands.
And now on to sentence number 15. It's our second to last sentence, so stick with me. We're almost done. Let's talk about the intonation that I hear. So this section is spoken by the creator, okay? And again, she's got more wavy up and down intonation than the other character. She also uses a little bit of breathiness on the word without. She drops her voicing there, and that's why you see the ... She also does that on the word what. She kind of has this more breathy sound there. And I think, the reason why people do that is to add emphasis or to add more emotion to certain words. It also just adds some variety. They're kind of playing with their vocal variety. So try to imitate that as well. It'll make you a better speaker. It'll make you a better imitator and a better speaker. So for her intonation, she starts out kind of low on the pronoun I, and then she goes up on can't, and then in good conscience let you take this leap without you knowing what it means. So she's kind of taking some liberty here about kind of going up, and, that's her style, right? She's got this kind of wavy, kind of up and down, intonation. And then take my hands. Nothing too unique about that sentence, but she does go down at the end of hands. She goes down at the end of means. So these are both statements. So that's typical intonation. But I think, especially in this first sentence, she's kind of got a little knowing what it means. Her intonation, it's gentle, but it's also like she's, I don't know, like she's speaking as if she is the creator. So she's got this like kind of authority to her. I don't know. So it's just the style of this character. Okay. So You might like it, you might not, but certainly pay attention to the ups and downs of her voice, and then those areas where she drops her voicing entirely and has more of that whisper.
I can't in good conscience let you take this leap without you knowing what it means. Take my hands. I can't in good conscience let you take this leap without you knowing what it means. Take my hands. I can't in good conscience let you take this leap without you knowing what it means. Take my hands.
All right, moving on to her linking. So we have another NT contraction here, but I have it highlighted with a T. Okay, so here I hear she uses actually the true T. I can't in good conscience. So she pronounces that T sound. That adds more emphasis to that word. So she could have done another type of T, this NT contraction when linking to a vowel. Sometimes the T can disappear. Okay, so not to be too confusing, but sometimes with NT contractions, when you're linking to a vowel, the T can disappear and it sounds like can't now sounds like can. I can in good conscience. It depends on the speaker, but here she pronounces the T. Okay, so we're just trying to imitate what we hear. So that's what I heard. A T sound there when she's linking it to the word in. Now we have another challenging, unreleased D in the word good. Good conscience. Good conscience, okay? Not good conscience. Good. There's no release there. It's good. Tongue tip up, voicing with the throat, voicing where the tongue tip is touching the alveolar ridge, okay? Challenging, but keep trying it. All right, and this link between let you, that should be very familiar to you at this point because you've got that final T linking to a consonant becomes what? A stop T with the throat. Let you. So close those vocal cords, get that crisp, abrupt ending to that T sound. Let you. That's what she does here. But here she does something different without you. All right, so here is the other possibility, another assimilation that you can use when you're linking a final T to an initial y consonant. It also happens that particular a combination of sounds also happens with the prior link we just discussed, let you, but she doesn't do it there. She does do this in without you. So this is an assimilation where an entirely different sound is created when you do the link. Now it's optional. You don't have to. She could have said without you. She could have still done that glottal stop T, but she used this other assimilation where it's like a sound that's in between the two. So you have a T sound that's more forward, the y consonant that's in the back. So kind of in between those two sounds is this CH sound. Okay, and so that's what's created without you. And it takes the place of that T sound and that y consonant. Without you. There's no T, there's no y. It's now a CH. Okay, that's an assimilation. It happens with this particular final T to a y consonant. It's very common. Okay, so she does it there. She had the opportunity up here again, but she didn't do it there. All right. And then we have the phrase, what it means. Two T sounds, but they're pronounced differently, right? The first T you'll see is between vowels, so that becomes a flap. But the second T is linking to a consonant, so it becomes a stop T. What it means. 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 So a quick flap and then a stop T. So that's kind of a fun phrase to practice because you get both of these different T sounds in quick succession that you can practice. All right, so let me play that back for you and you can listen for those links.
I can't in good conscience let you take this leap without you knowing what it means. Take my hands. I can't in good conscience let you take this leap without you knowing what it means. Take my hands. I can't in good conscience let you take this leap without you knowing what it means. Take my hands.
Now we just have 2 more words for me to point out on this slide. This word conscience. It looks like conscience. And this word is tricky. Okay, it's tricky to pronounce because the spelling is so bizarre, and the pronunciation just doesn't match. But I have the phonetic transcription up here. Conscience. So con has the stress, so you have that full ah vowel. And then the word that looks like science, that second part, think of chins, conscience, chins. Okay, that's the pronunciation there. It's a challenging word to pronounce because that spelling again, but full vowel has the stress, and then chins, conscience. Okay, and then this word hands. I wanted to point this out. It's not hard to pronounce, but that D is not there because of the rule of 3. That's what RO3 means. Rule of 3. You have an N, a D, and a Z consonant in hands, but that D is not pronounced. Hands. Also happens with the common word like friends. Okay? I know a lot of you are fans of that show, Friends. There's no D there, even though it's in the spelling. It's not friends. That's really hard to say. No one pronounces it. Everyone uses the rule of 3. Just drop that D. Friends, hands. All right, so I'll play this back and you can listen for these pronunciations.
I can't in good conscience let you take this leap without you knowing what it means. Take my hands. I can't in good conscience let you take this leap without you knowing what it means. Take my hands. I can't in good conscience let you take this leap without you knowing what it means. Take my hands.
And the final sentence, sentence number 16.
Now, close your eyes. Now feel.
And here we are. We've made it. The final sentence that I'm going to discuss, sentence 16. Thankfully, luckily, it's short here. So this is, both of these sentences are spoken by the creator. So let's talk about intonation. So she doesn't use anything too interesting, except a little interesting here. Now, close your eyes. She kind of goes up on eyes. Now that's common to do, even though she is giving a command, right? But it's kind of a gentle way to give a command. Now, close your eyes. And it goes along with her kind of sing-songy, kind of gentle, kind of like, type of intonation that she's been using. I don't know. She could have said, now, close your eyes. But she wants it to come across as like gentle, and she's leading Barbie. She's leading Barbie through a journey. So by going up, it just makes it a little bit more gentle, right? I just keep using that word because that's kind of what comes to my mind. And then now, feel. Okay, so on the word feel, all right, a little melodramatic, right? But that's the whole point of this scene. Barbie didn't really have feelings before. She didn't know how to feel like a human being would feel. She certainly only felt maybe just happiness, and she never understood anything else. Now she's going to feel everything, right? She's going to feel happiness. She's going to feel sadness. She's going to feel disappointment. She's going to feel guilt. She's going to feel embarrassment, all the negatives too, but also all the positives. So being human is complicated. There's lots of emotions there that we experience within seconds, right? We can experience everything. So now Barbie's going to feel everything. So that's why it's a little dramatic here. It's supposed to be. Okay, so listen back to this intonation.
Now, close your eyes. Now, feel. Now, close your eyes. Now, feel. Now, close your eyes. Now, feel.
Okay, now there's only one interesting link that I wanted to discuss between the word your and eyes. It's not a hard link to do. You're just extending that R sound into the beginning of the next word. This is a consonant to vowel link. Your eyes. It's like you're saying the word rise. So just allow that R sound to continue. Allow your voicing to continue. Don't tap the tongue. There's no tapped R in American English. Your eyes. Your eyes. And this word your, she could have reduced it to your, right? It's a very common reduction, but she doesn't. She maintains that or R-colored vowel. Your eyes. Now, close your eyes, your eyes. Okay, I think because maybe she's speaking a little slower here or just wanting to emphasize, add more stress to it, but speaker's choice, she didn't reduce it there. Okay, so she's got that full or pronunciation. Now, one last word, this word feel, and you'll see the IPA transcription that I've provided underneath. It's an F symbol, the F, E, with a little Y symbol kind of up in between the E vowel and the dark L. Now that's because for this particular combination, when you're pronouncing a word that has the E vowel to a dark L, like in the word feel. Again, there's almost like this little Y sound, this extra sound that gets inserted as you transition between the E to the dark L. Feel. And in fact, that's how she pronounces it. And she pronounces this word slowly. So she's got time to really give a good E vowel. And when you do that, you're going to get this little Y sound. Now, if you substitute the short I vowel, like in the words bit, hit, sit, the short I sound, you're going to say a word like fill, F-I-L-L, but you won't get that extra little sound. Fill. That vowel is short, right? Fill. Now, if you put in this long E vowel, feel. It's more tense. You get that extra little sound in there. So that's how you can differentiate between feel and fill. Feel has that little Y sound to it, and it's a longer, more tense vowel. Fill does not have that extra sound, and it's a short sound. Fill. Okay, so let's listen to this again, and then you can hear how she pronounces that link and especially the word feel.
Now, close your eyes. Now, feel. close your eyes. Now feel. Now close your eyes. Now feel.
Now you'll hear the entire analysis.
I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do now. I've always been stereotypical Barbie, and I don't think I'm really good at anything else.
You saved Barbie land from patriarchy.
That was very much a group effort.
And you helped that mother and daughter connect.
They really helped each other.
Maybe you're self-effacing, Barbie?
Maybe I'm not Barbie anymore.
You understand that humans only have one ending. Ideas live forever. Humans not so much. You know that, right?
I do.
Being a human can be pretty uncomfortable.
I know.
Humans make things up like patriarchy and Barbie just to deal with how uncomfortable it is.
I understand that.
And then you die.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to be a part of the people that make meaning, not the thing that's made. I want to do the imagining. I don't want to be the idea. Does that make sense?
I always knew that Barbie would surprise me, but I never expected this.
Do you give me permission to become human?
You don't need my permission.
But you're the creator. Don't you control me?
I can't control you any more than I could control my own daughter. I named you after her, Barbara, and I always hoped for you like I hoped for her. We mothers stand still so our daughters can look back to see how far they've come.
So being human's not something I need to ask for or even want? I can just... It's something that I just discover I am?
I can't in good conscience let you take this leap without you knowing what it means. Take my hands. Now, close your eyes. Now, feel.
Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope the analysis was helpful and showed you how you can sound more like a native speaker by using American movies to learn English pronunciation. If you liked this video, here's an easy way that you can show your support. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button or add a comment below. This is the best way to show your support, and it's entirely free and takes no time at all. Every subscriber helps, so please click that subscribe button. And if you want to train with me for free, then I've got a fantastic free course for you called English Pro Lite. The link to enroll in English Pro Lite is in the description below. And in this course, you'll learn the highlights of the American accent, including the top vowels, consonants, syllable stress patterns, linking patterns, and reductions that native speakers are using in their everyday conversations. So if you like free training, then be sure to enroll in English Pro Lite now using the link in the description. And one more thing. If you want exclusive practice videos that you can watch here on my channel, then join my channel now and become a member. I upload new practice videos and audio lessons to my YouTube channel every month. and these are for YouTube members only. So click the join button below so you can start learning with this exclusive practice content. Thanks again for watching and happy practicing!